Let's call to order this Winchester Planning Board meeting for Tuesday, February 24th. I'm just going to go over the agenda quick. It's an easy agenda. Well, the topic is not easy, but it's an easy to go over. For business, we're going to continue a public hearing, PB 25-6, application by Urban Spaces for 10 Converse Place. Regular business, we actually have no regular business, and then we have adjournment. So with that, I would love a motion to move into public hearing for the purpose of PB 25-6.
So moved.
Second.
We'll do a roll call vote for that. Nick?
Aye.
John?
Aye.
Carrie?
Aye.
Jack?
Aye.
Chair votes aye, so we are back in public hearing. We have been working on this project. How long? I feel like we've been working
Coming
on
up on since the
8 months.
What's our starting time point?
I guess that's a good question. So I have some prepared comments that I'm going to start with, and then we'll be moving into public comment right away. So after months of review and hours of discussion and extensive public engagement, we are at the end of the line. We've been informed that the bank allegedly chose not to extend its February 28th deadline to the applicant. And we'll move on to a new buyer if our process with Urban Spaces for 10 Converse is not complete by the end of this week. I will add that the bank declined to speak directly with us or any town representative. I make no guess as to the direction of the project if a new buyer comes on board. That would be for the planning board or the ZBA, should it be a 40B, to deal with at a later date. In the here and now, we have a choice of 3 options. There are 2 building options on the table, and we could approve one or the other, each with many conditions, or we could deny both. In summary, option A would be for a 5-story structure with 34 total units, no affordable units, and a payment in lieu to the Affordable Housing Trust. Option B would be for a 6-story structure with 38 total units, 4 affordable units, 2 workforce units. This choice comes down to dueling different priorities. Option A is about 10 feet shorter and might appeal to some as fitting into downtown Winchester better. And it would include a payment in lieu to help address affordable housing in town. But those units would not be in this building, and a smaller building would bring in less tax revenue. Option B would include 6 deed-restricted inclusionary units, contributing to our goal of increasing affordable housing in town and in the CBD, and would bring in more tax revenue for the town. However, this structure would be taller and be deemed by many less in character for Winchester. Aside from these differences, and along with floor area ratio, obviously for the larger building would be different, the rest of the project, including open space, commercial space, etc., would be the same. Both options would provide valuable housing in the center business district, enhance public access to the waterfront, and add substantially to our tax base. As an aside, the Select Board declined to consider waiving the building permit fees to aid in the addition of an affordable unit. So both would include a sizable upfront building permit fee to the town's revenue stream. And I personally could support either one. And again, there's a de facto option C, which would be making no decision or denying the special permit. Without prejudging what would come after that, I would hate to see all the work both we and Urban Spaces have put in be for naught. We've heard from the public, receiving many emails as well as spoken comment during the public hearing. Tonight is the last chance for spoken public comment. In a moment, I will let people speak. I would encourage you to address the choice we have before us, be that A, a 5-story with a payment in lieu, B, a 6-story with included affordable units, or C, no decision or deny the permit altogether. I'll be allowing 20 minutes of comment with no time limit for speaker, but please be respectful of others who want to speak. At the conclusion of the comment period, we will need, as a board, to decide how to proceed. And if the decision is to proceed with either A, the 5-story, or B, the 6-story, we'll need to walk through the special permit criteria and vote on them one by one. If we cannot complete our deliberations by 10 p.m., although we could go a little later if we need to, I'll ask the board to continue the hearing to Friday at noon on Zoom if we feel we are close enough to warrant it. That session, should it be necessary, will be exclusively for the work of the board and will not have public comment at it. So with that, I would like to open up this meeting to public comment. If you are interested, we don't have a sign-in sheet, so if you could slowly and clearly state your name and address. And I'm not going to ask you to limit yourselves, but just be mindful of, we've heard from a lot of people. We've gotten a lot of emails, a lot of texts. So if it's most helpful, I think, for the board, others may disagree, would be the decision that we have before us this week or tonight, which is what as I laid it out. So if anybody's interested in giving public comment, please raise your hand and I'll welcome you up to the table. Okay, both of you can, one and then the other, either order.
You don't have a sign-in sheet.
Like I said, we don't have a sign-in sheet tonight, so it would be ideal if you could state your name and address.
Yeah, my name is Jamie Duvall. I've been here before. I'm at 7 Dix Terrace. So I was a little bit thrown for a loop when I saw the email from Ian saying there's a new packet, and the game has changed yet again. And I feel like now a gun is being held to the planning board to make a decision tonight. A whole new set of conditions for the 5-story. But I think what I want to point out, I am in favor of the 5-story, or not bailing out the bank and just saying this is not working out. It feels like, it just feels like the process has been pretty difficult. And we don't have a lot of information we've asked for, so I personally would be comfortable walking away from it, but absolutely favor the 5-story. And I just want to point, and I've talked about that before, I just want to point out that I think the 6-story option, it was approved, the 69-foot was approved with conditions, and I'm not sure those conditions are being met. For example, we wanted more inclusionary housing than what is required, and we're not getting that. We're just getting the base level. We're not getting that. I don't think we're getting a for sure restaurant on the Mill Pond in the commercial space. I think that's not being fulfilled. I don't quite remember what the others were. There was the open space, et cetera, which we get with either one. That, I wanted to make that point. And I also want to just make the point again, we don't have any idea about a lot of things like the telecommunication towers, the elevator overhead, and I think we do need to pursue the 5-story if we do continue with this developer, which has been difficult. I'm going to allow time for other people. You guys know what I think, but I think it's okay to say no, too, if this just isn't working out. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I think Jason.
Okay, sure.
Okay. Hi, guys. I'm Jason Roeder, 8 Sheffield West. Maybe a question and then just a comment. The question would be, perhaps in your deliberations, we can talk about how the options got bifurcated such that one option is no affordable units on site, or, zero, versus sort of the minimum complement. I didn't read the payment in lieu as absolute. Either it's only payment in lieu or it's all on site. So I'm probably just missing something there. So it would be interesting maybe for the public to understand why can't we have 3 on site and then also a payment in lieu, or some mix of the two. Because it does seem like this site, as we've been talking about for a long time, is very unique, and that it might be a very good candidate for that payment in lieu option if it's mixed with something else. So that's one thought. And then I guess you all know how I feel. I think reflecting on it, it might be good to reflect on kind of how maybe we had a little bit of a mismatch in the process, such that when I first joined the hearings, we kind of had this vehement discussion, that's too strong a word, we had a lively discussion about the physical model, and do we need that, do we not need that, and it kind of went on for a while, but the upshot of all that is that we did not get a physical model, and actually we did not get the digital model until after the waiver was voted. So it seems like that was probably not the ideal path, and we could reflect on how to avoid that in the future. So that's sort of a thought for the future, but the main question is, can we talk about, at some point, why the two options seem to be kind of on the opposite end of the spectrum. Great, thanks.
Thank you very much. Come on up.
I'm Joe Randolph, 325 Highland Avenue, and I just wanted to speak briefly to the unresolved question of the visual impact of the telecom towers on top of the building. I thought that that was a deliverable for this week and that I would be seeing actual renderings of what is being proposed, and we could try to convince ourselves that what's being proposed actually complies with the bylaws for the telecommunications overlay district. My sense is that a 6-story building is too big. A 6-story building with a bunch of telecom infrastructure on top of it is really too big. I think with a 5-story building and a good faith effort to meet the requirements of the town, limiting the telecom stuff to 15 feet above the roof, would be a good compromise. Thanks.
Thank you very much. Do you
I'm just
want to-
thinking it would be helpful to have a diversity of comments from all sides of the debate.
Just welcome anyone who raises their hand. I think you were next, and then Marty, and then Kent. Yeah, perfect. I'm not trying to limit. I'm just trying to go in the order people. Sure. You could just pull a mic over towards your.
Take the mic. Sorry. Any mic? Okay. Thank you. Lee Wooten, Dick Steris in Winchester. And I would request that the board give strong consideration to option C. You have been presented with two options, with both of which I consider relatively obnoxious. Obviously, the 6-story structure is the most obnoxious as it has been presented, and it's likely to get uglier than we've seen so far, as cellular towers antenna are added, the elevator unit is added, and the mechanical units are added. So it's going to get taller. Both options provide minimal contributions or small contributions to the affordable housing stock. I think the bank and the developer, if they really want to, they can present an option that contributes better to the center and to the affordable housing in town to a degree that we haven't seen so far. If a 40B development on River Street is an example, I think the town would be better served with a similar project to that at this location. It would contribute to a much greater degree to the affordable housing stock. And thank you.
Thank you very much. So let's go there, then there, then. Who's last?
There was two other people
Okay.
here, and then I'll.
Okay, perfect. So I'm not partial to who comes up.
Good evening, everybody. I'm Marty Jones. I live on Salisbury Street. I'm the chair of the Affordable Housing Trust, but I'm speaking tonight individually because the Affordable Housing Trust has not had the opportunity, obviously, to discuss the developments that are happening so quickly with respect to this particular development proposal. I would support the planning board moving forward with the 6-story proposal for several reasons. The affordability, while it does not add a large number of affordable units to the town center, it does meet the requirements, as I understand them, of the bylaw and provides them in the building. One of the challenges with payment in lieu is that in our town, there are very few opportunities to frankly spend the money. And I think there are not opportunities for being able to purchase the kind of quality housing and location that this development will provide. And we have struggled so long in Winchester to be able to provide opportunities for affordable housing that I think it would be unfortunate to pass up having that opportunity in our town center. I'm not an architect. I've done a lot of development in my life. I think people have focused a lot on the height of the building. Frankly, I think what most people will see when it's built is they'll see the length and the mass of the building, and that the difference between 5 or 6 stories will not be that different in what people will perceive when they see it. It's my opinion. I do hope that we can move forward with this. It's been a long time coming. It's a site that really needs to be developed downtown. I think all of us know that if it doesn't go forward tonight, it will probably be years before something else happens and another lengthy process. So I'm happy to participate as things evolve. And thank you for letting me speak.
Thank you, and thank you very much for your help along the way in this process. Appreciate it.
So,
I'm Isabel McGee of Fletcher Street in Winchester. I'm really disappointed that those of us who only want 5 stories are now having to advocate for no affordable housing. I think it's really unfortunate, but that's where I'm going to have to go. I don't understand what the payment in lieu will do if we don't have any space in town to build affordable housing. I'm confused about how that will actually help us at all. But I do feel that the building is never going to be made smaller after it's built. Once we build it, 6 stories, we're stuck. So I still advocate for 5 stories, and I'm sorry that those of us who feel that way might be painted with being anti-affordable housing, which is not the case. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Hi. I'm Deborah Johnson. I am with the Disability Access Commission, but I'm also just here as a member of Winchester's community. I've lived here for, a lot of years, 33 years. So the reason why I'm here tonight, I'm in favor of 5-story building from the aesthetics, but I want to really speak about the functionality of a 5-story building from the standpoint that you have less units. We had the privilege of having Tyler in one of our meetings recently so we can discuss where we were looking at it from a disability standpoint, but also just a general functionality. I'm a physical therapist, so I look at how do people get from point A to point B and how do things function. Is it possible to put a floor plan up on this or no? If not, that's
I
fine.
don't know that it would be easy to do it.
Just
on the fly.
the ground floor, showing the entryways in Converse
Unless
Place.
it's in this slide deck
If that's
right-
possible.
Unless it's in the slide deck right here.
The overview, the
Yeah,
actual.
I'm just not sure it's in the slide deck. It would probably
no.
take a fair amount of time to get
Oh,
it.
no. Okay, I don't want to cause problems. I just thought if it was simple.
Remember what it was. Not a problem. Just with
Sometimes
the-
it's easier to speak to things, but one of the big issues that we had is, we're always looking at accessible parking. Right now, as far as I know, and I don't know if the plan has changed since I last saw it, which is one of the things I was curious about, there was going to be no accessible parking in the underground garage. There's also going to be just enough parking spots. And so again, if you take off the 6th floor, I'm assuming that the underground garage is not going to change. So you all of a sudden have perhaps enough parking spots for the for the 5 remaining floors. How it was set up was to have accessible parking on the outside of the building, like a garage. So kind of as soon as you pull into Converse Place and you get past the narrower stretch there, before it kind of widens out behind CVS, there was going to be a turn-in. And it was going to be a pretty tight turn-in. It didn't look like it was van accessible. Van accessibility requires extra width. It looked like it was going to be too standard. It's hard to tell from plans, but that's what it looked like to me, with an entrance in the center. But that person, especially the person pulling out in the left-hand spot, which you have to understand that you have a senior citizen perhaps who doesn't really have any physical, disabilities, but may not have that really great ability to turn and look. You're pulling out from a solid building onto Converse Place when you're backing out of those two spots. And especially the person on the left who's up against a wall and is pulling out, there's a sidewalk there, so you could have somebody walking, you could have kids running ahead of their parents, and even with mirrors and everything else there, that's really not the safest way to go about a parking spot, especially a parking spot for potentially somebody who may have a little bit of limitations, but is, fully allowed to drive, but, may not be able to really turn and look well. You're backing up from a garage, from a pure garage. So that is very concerning to us, not only from the safety of the driver, but also the pedestrians on the sidewalk, etc. We also look to see, and as far as I understand, there's no accessible spots in the underground. So my question was, I remember at a previous meeting, they talked about that the parking spots were going to be sold with the units. Is that correct? That was the idea? That you would
That's my
purchase a
understanding.
parking spot? So then my question is, well, what if you have 5 people in the building who have accessible parking stickers? Are they going to fight over those 2 spots? Or, when your grandma comes to visit you in the condo, where are they going to park? So that was a huge concern for us as well, because obviously this is the DAC. This is our thing, but I think for everybody they should be concerned about this. Then you have to ask, well, they're going to be, is the condo then going to be using accessible spots on the street because there's not going to be enough. So those 2 issues are one of our big issue. I have to say that the safety issue of that garage, of the accessible garage on ground level was really the big issue. And then finally, the other issue that came up, now this building, because it's not an apartment, does not require to have the higher level of accessibility in terms of the way that these units are designed. They only have to be available to be redesigned, right? So that cabinets can be changed or lowered or et cetera. But the other thing that Tyler had brought up and that we were very concerned about is that there is no parking, no standing, no nothing on Mount Vernon because the firehouse is across the street. And he was saying that it'll probably have to be hashed off, or I don't want to put words in your mouth, but this is how I recalled the conversation, that they were going to have to mark that clearly. So everything's happening on Converse Place. Drop-offs, pickups, Uber Eats, construction vehicles, vehicles that your U-Hauls, etc. And that street is really narrow to begin with. I was stuck there the other day because somebody was running in to get their China Sky order and decide they had to wait in the middle of the street to do it, so you're just sitting there. So the other concern we have is that when somebody who has a disability is getting dropped off or picked up there, and you don't want, sometimes it takes a few minutes. Sometimes you're pulling a wheelchair out of the trunk, or you've got 3 kids in car seats in a van that's dropping you off from Logan, and you have to get those car seats out and everything. We have a big concern about the width of that street and how practical it is to not have really a drop-off and pickup spot and to not have Mount Vernon Street. So all I can say is, Converse Place, as you have it right now, as this plan is designed, you're going to have to engineer the hell out of that street to figure out, I'm assuming residents are going to lose some spots, but we need to have a very safe, passable pick-up and drop-off area, you know what I'm saying? So that there's a clear, okay, this is where, the town is really trying to do this center district. The MBTA wants us to have these MBTA districts. We want to be more walkable, but that means that someone's getting their groceries potentially dropped off with them. Is there going to be a place to get in and out of the building, potentially with like a cart, pull with somebody, especially somebody who has a little bit of a slower, movement. So that's one of our big safety concerns and also just practical concerns. So from that standpoint, we would love to, once the plans are made inside, just review those if that's possible, so that we can see if there's any concerns that we have. But that's what we're talking about with the outside. And of course, the sidewalk issue. For instance, the sidewalk on Converse Place from the sitting area by the spillway, like across from the Bobo shop that never opened, you know what I mean? I don't know what to call it, the old ice cream shop. That is not cleared, and I don't mean from this storm. I mean from the storm 2 weeks ago. They just never bothered clearing it. So that the people that are using the bike path are going up Converse Street right now in the middle. So in the town, we're looking at override. We have no money to fix sidewalks or anything. All that really should just be engineered to the nth power so that we have the safest sidewalks possible. Thank you. I'm sorry it was so long. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Very helpful. So that is one more, because I know that you are the chair of the Housing Partnership Board, and I welcome you up, and that'll be the end of public comment, but I don't want to exclude you because I value your public comment.
John Serbier from Chair of the Winchester Housing Partnership Board. The Housing Partnership Board became aware of the new 5-story option on Monday. We discussed the old one last week at our meeting, as you asked us to do. We have not had time to look at the new 5-story option. I will have a couple of comments on that. Virtually everyone not only on the Housing Partnership Board, but the Planning Board, other boards, the public, has wanted the affordable units located on site. And that's not done in the current, the new option A provides no affordable housing units on site. A characteristic of the planned unit development is that it requires a increased diversity of housing choices. Having the affordable units on site provides that diversity. Not having them on that site means that criteria is not satisfied on that. The currently proposed in lieu payment is probably a factor of 4 or 5 lower than it needs to be. There's an equation and a procedure described in the rules for calculating that payment. That payment is probably sufficient for maybe 1 unit, not for 5 units. The last thing I'll say is, forgot it. The Housing Partnership Board a small working group did meet this afternoon to discuss the new option. We are willing to meet with the developer to see if a 5-story option can be, developed and refined that would be acceptable, that satisfies the criteria. It's certainly possible within the inclusionary zoning bylaw to have a mix of on-site units and off-site units and an in lieu payment that's permitted, and it would be interesting to know why that option wasn't explored. So in summary, the Housing Partnership Board has supported a 6-story option. We would continue to support that. We also would support no decision and just walking away and taking our chances with the new developer. Thank you.
Can I ask you, excuse me a second, can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
You stated that you believed the payment in lieu was 4 or 5 times lower than it needs to be. So are you stating that you believe it should be $5 to $6.5 million?
Yes. Yep.
So I wanted to get
well,
you to understand what you were saying.
The equation is, let me read.
I just wanted to understand that you were thinking that 5 affordable units would be $6.5 million.
Yeah. The in lieu payment for each unit will be equal to the difference between the fair market value of a similar unit and the approved price of the inclusionary unit.
Okay, that's why I was asking.
Look at, and because the review of the financial pro formas was done under a confidential basis, we do not know what the revenue projections are. So we're guessing at what the house selling prices are. We don't know what numbers actually were included in the pro forma to come to the conclusion that it's not feasible.
Thank you.
So they could be low, they could be reasonable.
Did you review the pro forma?
What?
Did
No.
You did
No.
not?
No, I did not.
Okay. So I wanted to make sure.
I-
You have an
the only-
opportunity to do so?
You were
The only
invited and
person who
declined to sign
reviewed
that confidentiality.
on the Housing Partnership Board was Marty Jones, because she was essentially forced, asked to sign a confidentiality, she had to agree to sign a confidentiality agreement. She couldn't share any of the results with us.
Okay.
So, we don't know much more than we did before. The intent of submitting a financial, this is an important point, the intent of submitting a financial pro forma is that it could be reviewed by one or two experts, but the results of that review would be made known to the planning board, the select board, the housing partnership board, conceivably the public, and that didn't happen in this case. So I would argue that the intent of that submission wasn't really achieved.
Thank you. With that, I will close public comment. So I limited public comment to 20 minutes. If you could be under a minute and no one else, and truly this will be the last one, because I'm trying to be respectful of all of you and us.
Very quickly, I don't have the numbers in town, and I'm sure folks here, like our town planner, do, but
Name and address, even though I know.
Michelle McCarthy, 29 Oxford Street. I'm the vice chair of the Historic Commission, town meeting member, long-term resident, and grew up around here. Thank you, everybody. I think you have a great architect, a great plan in front of you. And I also feel bad, I'm not trying to be against affordable housing, but there is a housing production plan in place. We do have other affordable housing in town. I worked on the ZRAC Commission. We worked really closely with the town planner to work to make sure that there's new housing built on Main Street, downtown, North Main Street. We looked at various properties. There is affordable housing being built in this town, and I don't think that we should have to have this building 6 stories to fit just a few more units. Thank you to John and everyone who's worked really hard on affordable housing, but I don't think we should be held hostage on this building for just a few units. I know that this planning board works hard. I know the town has worked hard to add affordable housing in town. We do have affordable housing in town, and I don't think that a few units here should have us go up 6 stories on our beautiful historic town center. I think that the Historic Commission, I know, is mandated by state and federal law, and I hope that you all look at that and consider the importance of that in our downtown when you make this important decision tonight. Thank you so much for the
Thank you so
opportunity.
much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. And with that, I will actually close public comment and now circle back to us as a board, because we now have to decide how to move forward. And I laid it out the way I see us moving forward, the different options, but if anybody else sees a different path forward that they'd like to propose, I'd like to welcome all of you, because you've all been, some of you have been looking at this a lot longer than I have. Carrie.
I think we have some answers that people would like to have, and I think we have some questions that we need to get answered before we can make too much progress. The working group that reviewed the pro forma and negotiated directly with the applicant, I wish John had accepted our invitation to participate. I think the private building is different than the 40B building, but agree to disagree, and we did our best. And we sit, the thing I like about planning board is the thing that makes planning board very difficult is that we sit kind of in the middle of a lot of single issue voters. So we have different interests in town that have to bear down on this building, and we tried very hard to sort of thread that needle, and we met with a lot of, we sort of came up with our last plan hoping that everyone would be able to flex a little bit, and we did not find much flexibility. We were not invited to meet with the select board to have the discussion about what we could do with building fees. And so ultimately, hopefully the tax revenue will increase there, but there was no sort of availability of a discussion there to put that financial piece back into the picture. Of course, housing, no one is thrilled about either of these options. You know, we're faced with either compromising what feels to the town like an egregious departure from the historic character of downtown, or an egregious moral decision to put at risk the affordable housing requirements that we have for the building. And none of us are comfortable with either of these. And then there's the great unknown of if we walk away. We got no flexibility from the bank. I think people have questions about could there have been a longer timeline. Our clear understanding is that there's no flexibility to that, and there's no flexibility in the price. Our last agreement had included a split in the monies that would have been negotiated with the bank, and that number ended up being zero. I trust that we got half of that, but the number was zero. And so we're stuck kind of with these rigid walls. I think the questions that everyone deserves answers to are whether or not, the position that the applicant is in is that the timeline has to wrap up on Saturday. And so decisions that are going to be made that are financially or legally fragile are not tenable because the risk is too high on their part. And so that limits some of the decisions that we need to make because the sort of like lack of ability to extend the timeline to give us a little bit more time to get answers and negotiate sort of reduces their willingness to expose themselves to legal risk. So wherever their counsel reads a bylaw one way and our counsel reads the bylaw another way, we kind of can't leave that up in the air because if there's a legal challenge to one of the options, it's too risky. Like they'll just, the bank will walk away, they'll walk away. And so we need something that can be sort of cleanly negotiated. We could now ask our town council a question that I think I've gotten from many people today, I'm sure we all have, which is whether or not our bylaw does allow a hybrid negotiation where we would ask for 80% AMI units in the building and 120% as a payment in lieu, or if it's a payment in lieu for all affordable or zero.
I don't read the bylaw as allowing hybrids.
Okay.
And I think in the memo that I updated did state 7.3.19.4 provides that the fee for each affordable unit shall be established by the special permit granting authority. And section 6.4.3 of the regs states that for a rental unit, the financial contribution for each inclusionary unit will be equal to the difference between, which I think somebody already said, the fair market value of a similar unit, whatever that is, and the approved price of the inclusionary unit, assuming the value of the unit if it was sold rather than rented. So the board is responsible for calculating the payment in lieu for each unit using the formula set forth in the regulations.
And just to clarify, the planning board, not the housing partnership board.
Correct, the planning board. Housing partnership board makes recommendations, but it's not a mandate.
Exactly.
So the board then provides the amount to the developer, and neither the zoning bylaw nor the regulations, in my opinion, from reading them quite carefully, provide any alternative method for determining the fee or allow for the applicant to propose a different type of calculation.
Okay. So that is why we can't do a hybrid option. We were all kind of hoping that we would be able to get the 80% AMI units in the building and negotiate a payment in lieu for the workforce units, and that ended up not being tenable. The calculation is up in the air. 6 million seems like a lot. There's an excellent chance if we approve the five story building that, based on what we've heard this evening, that we would ultimately end up recommending against the advice of the Housing Partnership Board, which is never a position that we want to be in. We consider that a productive and important relationship. So that's hard for us.
Of course, if we support the 6-story, would go against the recommendations of the Historical Commission.
Right, and I mean, we can't sort of ignore the hundreds of emails that we have had sort of a small coalition that came together in the beginning with the petition supporting 6 stories. We've heard a few versions, but to your point at the last meeting, we have 6-story or walk away, and then we have 5-story, and we have this beautiful building. It's beautiful architecture. I think it generally has been designed contextually for the downtown, so it's the affordable housing piece. An option that had come up in our last discussion that I'm realizing now that we did not follow up on, and I would love the applicant's response to this, is whether or not, once the payment in lieu is negotiated, if we can option them back within the building. We talked about that before, would there be, because our problem is we get this payment in lieu, we have a couple $1 million sitting around, and then no developer will take the money to build the units in a building. So what is your flexibility on that?
Paul, come on over to the table. We obviously know who you are, but again, just
Thank you. Paul Onyebane, Urban Spaces. Hello, David. This is my colleague, Dave Nutter. Just the specific question is all you want me to answer, right?
I mean,
Okay.
I would tread carefully. Yeah.
Yeah. So of course we would in this case treat the town like any other buyer, and if you wanted to buy a unit with the money that is going into the coffers, I would think you'd be welcome to at market rates, just like any other buyer.
So with you, what is the likelihood that you would negotiate so is there a way? I understand, sort of the investment optics, and you don't want to sort of say to investors, we have this, I know the numbers going into it, but if the payment in lieu is negotiated thinking this money is going to come back and buy these units, do you know what I mean? Like, I'm trying to keep everyone honest at the negotiation table if we go to a payment in lieu.
Well, we can't be too cute about it and run afoul of the
Right.
of the
Right.
zoning. So if we sort of are saying on one hand we can't do a hybrid, but we're really going to do a hybrid, I think we have to be cautious of that.
But no, I mean, in any negotiation, you're going to come in low, we're going to come in high, we're going to end up in the middle. And if we're keeping in view the idea that ultimately we would be you would be giving us a payment in lieu and we would be purchasing them in your building, like, how does that affect your purview of the
Again,
negotiation?
I think the way to look at it is, this is a point in time, and the whole thing started with, let's find a creative way to move off the 6-story building onto a 5-story, recognizing that millions of dollars of profitability, which is most of the profitability of the project, would be foregone because we'd be doing that. So then we sort of went into a 5-story version to say, well, let's sort of have you lose all of that revenue, but also get everything we want too, which is all the affordable units that we always ask for in the beginning. That made the trade-off not a trade-off anymore. So ultimately, we have to, I think, look at the 5-story payment in lieu in recognition of the fact that we're trying to offset a loss that the 6-story would represent. So and those are the trade-offs we're making, right? If we want to go down the floor, then the trade-off is that we lose the affordable housing on site and we have to negotiate some point in time reference. Like, we're going to look for it to be low, you're going to look for it to be high, like you just said, of the payment. So that's the next step. Now, what we negotiate today may be different than what reality is in 2 years from now. It may be way low, it may be way high. We don't know. If there was, God forbid, some kind of a COVID event like happened again, we could be finding ourselves, like the last developer, going bankrupt over the project. Or if the economy is booming, we could find ourselves, hitting a triple on the project. And that's why we added, in addition to the payment in lieu for the defined amount, an upside protection. So if we achieve over a revenue threshold, which you had asked us to meet, then we would be splitting essentially 50-50 the profits. So we feel like it gives you a safety net. Can we tell you that whatever the payment in lieu that's negotiated today will be what the market value is in 2 years from now when you're ready to buy units with the money? Can't really say that definitively.
do you have any follow-ups on that?
I don't think I do. I think it's helpful for us to think about the framing if we end up at that negotiation. And I think that was all I wanted to set out loud at the table. Anybody else? I mean, I'm the personality hire in this discussion, so go ahead.
I have a related question for our legal counsel.
Okay.
You wrote a great letter explaining why we cannot waive the affordable housing requirements spelled out in the CBD, and I appreciate that. That was very clear. Similarly, are we in a position where we could, and it sounds like what we're trying to do is to waive the requirements that Mr. Servier spelled out very well, and how that in lieu payment is calculated. This is essentially, I think, what we're trying to do right now. This, what Mr. Onyebane was saying about this. I'm not going to rephrase what you said, but in addition to the 1.5 million, this additional sharing of profit over a certain level. in other words, we are negotiating something that I don't know that we can negotiate. Am I reading that right? I mean, it's either the formula or it's not.
Yeah, as I said in my memo, you really do have to stick to that formula. Your bylaw does have a section that says you can, section 2.6, actually in the regulations under the bylaw, the board can waive strict compliance with certain of the regulations where it determines that the waiver is in the public interest and not inconsistent. But this isn't one of them. Like an example of that would be if the payment can be made in full 90 days after certificate of occupancy, or I don't know, there's some example that I was given. But you can't otherwise waive the standard. You've got to do the thing I read about fair market value. You've got to calculate the units.
Yeah. So I'm only raising that as a question because, it's nice to have this conversation to negotiate, but are we really able to negotiate? Aren't we really confined by what the bylaw says?
You are, unfortunately, yeah, you are. I mean, maybe it isn't unfortunate, but yes, you are constrained by the language of the bylaw.
So for us to sit here and try to get him to come up,
What's the standard for using for fair market value? I mean, we all got that mailing from the.
Is the fair market value these units, or are we looking at, say, 800 square foot one beds in the area?
Yeah.
Or does it have to be an 800 square foot unit at 33 Mount Vernon?
I don't believe it's directly defined. I can check what the state regs say, but it typically it's within, I don't know if you have any further guidance on that, Taylor, but it's typically within the town or surrounding similar towns.
Uh-huh. So it wouldn't,
I'll see if there's a definition.
So in that regard, there is something to talk about. We're not eliminating the 5-story option if we're able to have units outside of that particular unit.
If you can follow the calculation that's in your bylaw.
Would it be helpful to make a comment?
Yeah, I think so.
So, and this is where it's both the blessing and the curse, in our opinion, because in an effort to eliminate the 6th floor, and because we don't have the flexibility to do a hybrid, we have a payment in lieu. How it's calculated is, the blessing and the curse is it's a little vague, so it gives us flexibility. In our legal counsel's opinion, that is where the negotiation would happen. So we would say that, like we said, the differential is between the market value and the restricted value. The restricted value is formulaic. It's a calculator based on AMI. That'll be easy to define. The market value is where it's trickier. So we could, and that's what I think our plan was coming out of the Affordable Housing Working Group, would be if this 5-story proposal was approved this evening, we would proceed to meet over the next few days to negotiate that, recognizing that we need the number to work in order for the 5-story building to work, so there's a practical effect to it. But it's still fully compliant with the zoning because you have the ability to have discretion over what fair market value means. So we've proposed what fair market value means in an effort to make the numbers all tie up. We didn't want to get bogged down in the financial engineering behind it because one could argue that a bigger unit at a lower price or a smaller unit at a higher price, however we balance the price times quantity calculation out, as long as it ends in what is a reasonable number, we propose whatever we said in the memo, and maybe it needs to go up a little bit. Certainly not, can't do the order of magnitude of Mr. Chouvier is noting, but something in the order of the magnitude of what we said, we think both holds water from a bylaw perspective and also enables us to make the 5-story building work.
So am I to understand now that, I guess kind of go back to your question, that Paul and council are on the same page with regard to flexibility in that regard, and as such, the 5-story option is a valid option?
That's not clear to me, so I'm not sure. I mean,
that is clear to me. It's just a matter of what the number is. It is. It's just a matter of whether that number that you put forward in the memo, his number that he said, or somewhere in between, or higher or lower. I mean, maybe it's $8 million, in which case I understand the project's dead, but maybe that's what it is.
I hope we'll build $1 million if it's his number, so that'd be great.
But all I meant was, I think it is viable. I think it's just a matter of the price. And if the choice is to move ahead with the 5-story with a payment in lieu, we would need to have everybody in agreement that the way it's calculated is acceptable, and it would have to be done by Friday, and then we would meet on Friday and go over that number. And if your council and our council don't agree with that number, then we're in an unfortunate situation, because now we're all of a sudden we're at the 1 yard line, and
we can't get
the ball into the touchdown.
I think it'd be helpful for people to talk to one another.
Yeah.
So if your council needs to talk to our council, that would be an educational situation.
No, I don't think it's
I don't know how
actually a
many
legal
lawyers you know.
question. I think it's a business question.
Yeah, I agree with that. I mean,
Okay.
I gave you my legal opinion, which is you got to follow your formula.
Yeah.
And math is not my forte. So beyond that,
I do think I have a legal question, though. So is the I can't remember how you worded it, but sort of the profit share in best case scenario, are we allowed to put that in place? Are you suggesting that we're not allowed to do that?
I'm sorry, profit share and what?
So we had arranged as part of the payment in lieu, if the building sells for higher than the gross that's anticipated from the pro forma, that the town would receive a % of the profit above their anticipated gross revenue. Are we allowed to do that or no?
That seems a little bit outside the very narrow language of the bylaw.
Okay, so that would need to be considered in the payment in lieu negotiation.
So I was just going to say, if that's not part of the payment in lieu, but that's just something else we've negotiated in addition to the payment in lieu, then it's not. My question for you, Kate, is that part of the bylaw? If we just outside of the payment in lieu said we're negotiating
Well, that's asking for a kickback.
No, towards the inclusionary housing, towards the affordable housing trust, but not saying that specifically is for payment in lieu. That's why I'm saying it sounds like it can't be the payment in lieu, because the payment in lieu has a very strict calculation.
Correct.
But if it's outside the payment in lieu,
Then what is it?
And can it go to the Affordable Housing Trust, or does it go to the Select Board Dissipation Fund?
Our opinion is it wouldn't be any different than the 5% revenue share that was going to the conservation efforts from the retail.
But can it go to the Affordable Housing Trust?
We could give it, I believe, anywhere we like. It's outside the zoning bylaws.
That's an accounting question. I honestly don't know whether you could do that.
Okay, I just don't know the
I
legalities.
mean, there
of
are,
the affordable.
some towns have development impact bylaws.
Okay.
And things like that, which you can agree to anything, you just can't necessarily call it a payment in lieu and put it in the Affordable Housing Trust, because
Okay.
that has such strict regulations, as does your bylaw
Okay.
in that regard. But, and I don't know that you have, I didn't look at that, but if you guys don't have an impact fee bylaw, then you can't really call it that, but you can, and I did see you've got the one with Conservation Commission, you can have these agreements with different boards where the money goes into their accounts.
and that was what I was trying to get at. It wouldn't be a payment in lieu.
So then two other logistical questions before I feel we have all the information that we need. So if we were, the challenge with money in the Affordable Housing Trust is that, where do you spend it? Like, great, we have all this money. Is there a developer that's going to be willing to take these back? So following that thought process, we've had the question on the table, can we option these units back in the same building? You're saying, sure, if you've got the money. Is there a way to sort of put a little teeth to that? Can we have rights of refusal on 5 units if we have the money for that? Is there a way to sort of make sure that we've bookmarked that opportunity?
In our legal counsel's opinion, there isn't, because we're sort of having it both ways. For example, an analogy is for tax reasons, one might have to be very careful not to set an option price today, because if you set it today, it's really a contract. That's today. This is analogous, where if we say we can't have a hybrid where we accept a certain number of affordable units for a certain price and a cash payment. So if we give you the cash payment, but then give you an option to go buy the unit at a defined price today, it's kind of going back to the same place.
Okay.
But at market rates, of course, anyone could buy a unit, right?
Yeah, there's just a lot of money.
And there'd be nothing in the condo docs that would preclude someone from deed restricting their unit to be affordable, because that could be in, I suppose it could be in the condo docs, as long as you're committing to not do that.
Right, so we can make sure of that. I mean, sort of that goes under the free country
Yeah.
mentality, I guess, yeah.
But one could have the condo docs could say you can't deed restrict your units to be, I imagine they could say anything. Condo docs say an awful lot of things.
Yeah.
Maybe they can't, I don't know.
I don't know.
We could implement that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay, so I'm still hearing, I'm going back to Jack's point, and I know that you have a lawyer, and he's a very good lawyer, and he's a very well-paid lawyer, and he's good. And we have a lawyer who's good. Are the lawyers on the same page? And are we there? And does that put to rest Jack's concern that 5 is a valid option?
Based on what we're discussing tonight, I think we can conclude that if I may paraphrase what town council is saying and our council is saying, that we can be fully compliant with the zoning bylaw. It provides for when a project is deemed financially infeasible in order to provide the units on site, there is a provision to provide a payment in lieu. And that payment in lieu has a calculation which in some ways is definitive. The income restricted side is definitive. And where it gets not definitive is how much is the market value unit worth. And that becomes not a legal question anymore, but a business question. And then simply market minus income restricted equals subsidy payment. So we can agree on the one, we'll have to negotiate the other. We've put forward our best effort, and it results in C. A minus B equals C. So I don't think it's a legal question anymore. I think the attorneys are on the same page. And it's then basically what we had talked about the other night, which is to advance the discussions and negotiations with people who want to be involved in that to see if we can, ultimately come to the bottom line number that works for everyone.
By Friday.
By Friday. And it actually is easy. I mean,
It's math.
It's
It's math.
controversial,
It's math.
perhaps, but it's just math. It's just five rows, 3 columns.
Well, I hope Jack will have a chance to ask his question to a degree that will give him comfort.
No, I've asked my question. I'm fine.
I don't have any other questions for the applicants. I have right now, I'm sure more will come up, but I'm still logistically trying to figure out if I think a payment in lieu becomes a unit anywhere. Let's say 210 Smith Street comes in front of us. I'm really trusting that there's not a Smith Street in Winchester. That just hasn't come up before. 210 Smith Street comes up. The developer's going to put 1 unit in a building, and we ask them if they're willing to add 2 affordable units if we close the gap between market. What does that process look like on the developer side? John, I'm looking at you. How do we use payment in lieu money? Like, how does that become?
I know how I'd use it.
Go on.
I'd buy a piece of land.
The town would buy a piece of land? I don't know if you've noticed, but the real estate
Not a
here,
lot of
it's
time.
not
Well,
real
that's,
cheap.
you don't wait for it to go in MLS. I mean, that's usually not the
Yeah.
way this is done. Like $2 million is a good share of the way to what you're paying for this thing. It's a pretty priced piece of land. You could pile some money together, and like, how many units could you get if the land was free? Right? I mean, if you just, that's what I wouldn't try to buy a finished product. I would want to get in at the beginning.
But then we would have to be buying the land and building the building.
No, you wouldn't build. You would.
You'd sell.
You would you would make an agreement with the developer, with the builder.
As we get at Washington as well.
Right, and so this is what we're going to get out of this.
And that's where we put that little footnote at the bottom of the memo, which is we have a kind of, to address affordable housing concerns, the community, statewide, we've developed a program where we can get a unit, 1 bedroom, 650 square foot unit. It's built in steel and modular, and it's all pre-packaged for under $400,000. So if we had a piece of land you could imagine the $2 million payment setting aside the land gets you 5 units. So it obviously is a longer-term discussion to solve the affordability problem. But one of the ways we're trying to do that, because we're actively involved, we're building a 100% affordable building in Cambridge right now, and we've done this a bunch. We're trying to kind of create a low-cost, fast build that can go on any parcel of land.
That should be very popular here.
Well, and we've also used money from the Affordable Housing Trust to help close the gap on, I believe it was Waterfield. I believe money was used in there, and that has.
That's unicorn. It's not. We're not going to do that again soon.
Well, but
yeah.
we don't know what we're going to do again soon.
Right.
I mean, we just
Right.
don't know when an affordable development will come along that cannot close the gap, for which $500,000 closes the gap and allows a development that has 10 affordable units to come. And now that's not directly causing those units to happen, but it's allowing it to close the gap so that we get more affordable units than we would if we didn't.
Right.
And obviously, money was used from the Affordable Housing Trust, or is being used for Forest Street, along with, I mean, that's another unicorn, but we seem to have a lot of unicorns in town, actually, if you think about it.
Well,
I mean, everything's a unicorn.
You go looking, that's what developers do. You just keep looking and looking at GIS maps and make contact.
That's what you do all day long?
You find, I mean, yeah, it happens, yes. You find out that it is owned by someone who lives in Maine, and they've owned it for 50 years, and they've been saying, no, I'm not going to sell it for like 45 of those years. And all of a sudden, they say, do you have a number in mind? That's, I would buy the piece of land and not, you don't have to sell it to them. You can just say, okay, this cost me this much money. I want this many units out of it. You can have you can have the dirt. This is the exchange. But you're going to get more units that way than trying to,
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
So I have a question for you before you go. We had a member of the Disability Access Commission come up and speak to parking, both the interior parking and the street level parking. You heard the comments. I'd love your response to that, because I think that those were really comments that really resonated with me. So I'd love to know how you'd address really everything she just said about the parking in particular.
Yes. Well, just in the interest of time, we would love to share the final plans, and discuss the concerns that were raised. There's some practical implications about van heights and slopes on ramps and things, which is why the van parking is outside. We couldn't get the ramp. We would prefer it inside too, but we couldn't get the ramping to fit on this dimensional constraint. But nevertheless, all those are good concerns. We appreciate that our demographic and this population that will, some of which will want to live in this building anyway, are going to have the kinds of mobility concerns that are discussed tonight. So we want to address them.
Okay.
And just two points. The spaces are, there's actually, they're code-compliant ADA spaces with that strip in the center that you saw, so there is space to do that. And they also were intentionally placed close to that elevator core, so there's direct access into the lobbies, so that getting to the elevator is whatever unit they're getting to is easier.
My last question regarding that is, those 2 units, would they be sold, or are they but they're individual, like when somebody moves in who needs that, they have access to that parking space? Or I'm just curious what your model is.
Yeah, so the way that we have handled that in the past is the condominium documents allow for the sale of those spaces. They're traditionally held back until they're needed in the development. There is a restriction in the condominium documents that if some person needs to use that for handicap accessibility, that parking space is swapped out. So it does contemplate that if a non-disabled person has a handicap spot and somebody comes along that needs that handicap spot, there are provisions in the condominium documents that will allow that transfer.
That's very helpful, and I do hope that you guys will be able to communicate with the Disability Access Commission because that's very important. So, thank you.
I know it's not public, I just directly addressed that for 1 second, just saying that with the ramp, I understand that that won't work for an accessible van, but just for an average car, it would be nice to have some accessible spots in the garage, just so that you can increase that and then reserve the van outside. That's it, sorry.
No, thank you. Okay, so unless there are more questions for the applicant, I will boot you guys.
Perfect, thank you.
Thank you.
Taylor, just a point of order, I think that's the updated presentation.
Yeah, I'm just using it as the cover slide.
Good eye.
So we are back to just us, and we need to decide what way we want to move forward. I would welcome anyone to just take the floor and tell me what you want to do, or I could do it myself. I mean, whatever. But I don't want to lead. The chair should go last.
Not necessarily.
Yeah, we should.
Well, what can we do here if we don't know, we don't have any guidance on what that in lieu payment would be? Is that the case that we
So we would.
need to do some figuring?
We're deciding 5 conditioned on agreed payment in lieu or 6, or option C. And then we would meet again on Friday to review the results of the payment.
We have a commitment to resolve it.
By Friday. By Friday.
By Friday?
We would continue this meeting to noon on Friday.
If we can't do it tonight.
If we can't do it tonight, but I don't think we can. I don't think we can.
Sounds like we can't.
We can't settle the payment.
I don't think we can settle that, but we can.
I think we
settle
should count on Friday, and I'm not sure why we're going till 10 if we're going to go to Friday. But that's
because we might go.
Oh gosh, we have so much to go over.
We might go till 5 on Friday too, from noon to 5.
Well,
so
that's all right.
yeah, I'm just saying that we need to have as much time as we can. Anyone? So I'll go first. I am fine with either option. I think this is a great building. I think it would be a huge addition to the town, the open space. I think that the retail space, we've heard loud and clear from the community that they would prefer a 5-story building. And while I think that it pains me to not have the affordable units in the building, we're trading, as I said in my opening statement, we're trading different priorities of the town. There's some, and you said as well, priority to have inclusionary housing in the building. We also have a priority to have this building match the flavor of the town. And we've heard from, the town it's split in half. Well, not even in half. There are people who don't like a 6-story building, and there are people who don't care. There's no one who's told me, I want a 6-story building. They have said, I don't care if it's 6 stories, and that's where I fall. But we've heard from a lot of people who do care if it's 6 stories. So I'm inclined to say that we have to go the 5-story route, and we have to come up with a payment in lieu that meets our legal requirements. I'm confident that between now and Friday we could come up with that. My back of the envelope calculations that I did, that I will not say are perfect, is on the order of about $2 million. Whether or not that's a non-starter, I don't know. I'm not even going to look at them because I don't want to color that. But that number could be wrong. It could end up that it's truly $6 million. If it's truly $6 million, a 5-story building is not happening. And come Friday, if that's the route we've gone, we've pretty much said no to the 6-story by the time we get there, and this project is dead, and that would make me very, very, very sad. But I think we have to listen to what people are saying, and people are saying they want a 5-story building. So that's where I'm inclined to go. And if it were a committee of one, I would now start going down the special permit criteria for the 5-story building. That's what I would do. So, but I should have gone first, but since no one else wanted to speak up, that's where I stand.
Said so much, I'm trying to hold back over.
John.
Well, I would, I pretty much agree with everything you said. No one wants a 6-story building. It's true, no one wants it. Some people have said it'd be okay, but a lot of people really don't want it. And I know in this process at some point a long time ago, I said I didn't want any money. I wanted the units. But After hearing some more and understanding that the money would go to the Affordable Housing Trust, and it would be used for housing, it wouldn't end up sitting in the middle of this table and getting less like spread out, and you never see it. I think for this building, it might be the way to go. That I think that, you know, if you want to use as fair market the most expensive units in town is not really fair. It's not. I don't think it's what they mean. I don't think that's what they meant. I think they were kind of talking about in the area, however you define that, whether it's a town or other towns, but pretty much talking about Winchester. The per square foot price, this is going to be pretty high, and so maybe it does make sense to do it in that way. So I could be in favor of a 5-story building. We'd have to work out the numbers, and I'd have to understand the math and be comfortable with it. But it's probably somewhere between $2 and $6 million.
Nick, Jack?
Go ahead.
I mean, I was just going to say that, I mean, we have a profound need for affordable housing in this town. I mean, none of the houses that are being built, I mean, every tear down is replaced by a 6,000 or 5,000 square foot single family home. There are no apartment size units. And I think the comment that resonated with me, the painful comment that resonated with me, was the woman who said that, you know, just because we want to go with the 5-story doesn't mean we're against affordable housing.
Yeah.
And we have to make it up to the community. We have to have some longevity in terms of our policy. So that's kind of where I'm coming in. It's this very difficult you know, leaning toward the 5-story. I'm looking at emails, and it's not just the same people. I mean, it's email after email and I think it's a very serious responsibility that we have here in the planning board, and it's a public trust, and I think that our allegiance needs to be toward the community and the town and the residents, ultimately.
Thank you, Nick.
Yeah, you said a lot of the same things. I feel the same. And it was, I didn't catch her last name, a woman. I was going to cite her too. Lisa was her name. She's out there somewhere. That also resonated with me. Just because we are in favor of a 5-story building does not mean we are against affordable housing. I think it's, when you talk about the obligations that we have to this community, that's one of them. Another one is to maximize our tax base. And the one big advantage of the 6-story building would be a very significant addition to our tax revenue. The applicant estimated $580,000 the first year and $7 million over the first 10 years. And with our soon to increase tax rates, it's going to be more than that. As well as contributions to the CPA fund. That's all good for the town too, and that's 6 floors. 6 floors also contributes to the Center Business District's housing stock, which is one of the purposes of the CBD bylaw. And of course, it would add to the affordable housing obligation. But again, it's 6 floors, and I've said every time I've opened my mouth that I don't like 6 floors. But as Brian said, either option A or B is what I'm going for, but not C. I don't want to just leave this on the table. I think if we don't make a decision on one or the other this week, I dread to think what we're going to get. And it's not just what's going to go there, but the waiting. It's another 2, 3, 4 years of no revenue from or just $49,000 from that lot, when it's probably the most valuable real estate in town. And that's not smart. That's not a smart way to run town. I think we owe it to the town to at least acknowledge that in our decision.
Thanks, Jack. Carrie, I don't know.
I mean, I think everything's been said, and I don't want to spend our evening repeating everything. I think one unique comment I can make is that this building has, divided us in all the ways, and I think it's been an interesting opportunity to create a couple of partnerships. For me, this building is why I came onto the planning board, having gone through this building on the Conservation Commission, and so I think the town having to deal with the balance between the built environment and the natural resources has been an interesting and productive discussion, and I think it was on our mind when we rezoned North Main Street. And I think we tend to be, kind of like the disappointment of the Housing Partnership Board, and I think this is, I think we all have sort of a pit in our stomach about the fact that we are taking action to not include affordable units in the building, and that no one is happy about that. But if we go slightly wider lens, we have Waterfield coming in, we have Washington and Swanton. Our affordable housing inventory has finally started to creep up, and this will, create a partnership that the planning board has to be really invested in, because it's something that we're doing. And so I think I have to trust that we'll move past sort of the editing phase to the writing phase, where we actually look for those opportunities, whether we need to do zoning differently or whether we need to think about how to encourage owners and other PUDs to make changes to their building, possibly helped with the monies that we'll collect. I can't bring myself to force 6 stories on a town that doesn't want it. I can't get myself to where that feels like an okay vote, when the organization around it and the passion around it and the idea of a building that will stand for 50 to 100 years that the town just hates is just not something I think I can vote for. And our affordable housing problem is way bigger than 6 units. And so if this allows us to
That's a good point.
sort of feel that guilt that drives responsible action, then maybe that's the catalyst we need. I don't know. I know it's something that it's just difficult. It's a difficult point. I like that the minute in the negotiation where we got to where these were the 2 options was like, in every negotiation, everyone leaves feeling like they lost a little, and it feels like we went from a little to whew. But the building will be there for 50 to 100 years, and we will keep solving. We'll have hopefully the money to do it. And it's possible that the number comes in too low and the whole thing dies on Friday. So.
I'm not hopeful that's not the case.
I'm hopeful
Obviously,
that's
we all
not the case too. Obviously, I just put the hours in, man.
So what I'm hearing is versions of the same thing from everyone with slightly different events, that everybody is in favor of pursuing a 5-story with a payment in lieu, and that we need to task someone, some group, to work out that calculation to make sure that we can come back on Friday, starting tonight, working through everything else, and then come back on Friday with that being circling back for a number that that we all agree works. Since we now know that legally it's not the issue, it's making sure that the calculation works. So, and I have no doubt that whatever number is finally decided on will not be loved by everyone. It's, compromise is, give a little, get a little, and this is going to be some amount of compromise in this whole process. Do people agree that we are moving forward, looking through special permit review for the 5-story with payment in lieu?
Yes.
Yep. Okay. So,
and you're suggesting a working group such as it is to negotiate this off-site, offline?
I would have
There
argued.
isn't. There's a meeting scheduled. There's a working group meeting scheduled for 8:30 on Thursday for members of the housing.
I would argue
partnership.
that group is the group that should continue.
Are you traveling on Thursday? Okay. So can you do an 8:30 meeting or no?
Good check.
Okay.
I can't remember.
I'm
If
happy
not,
to be in
someone
there.
else if not, someone else will step up for that from this board, and we will, if you are unable to attend.
Take a look.
No, I'm happy to. I think it's valuable to have the continuity.
That's a
Sure, they'll
Zoom.
be thrilled to see
It's a
me.
Zoom call? Zoom?
I don't know. Is it a Zoom call? Who knows the meeting?
I don't know.
Can you make it 8:30 Thursday?
Absolutely.
He's back to Barcelona.
Yeah, right.
You
We'll be
cannot make
meeting
it.
in the
No,
south
I-
of France,
can?
but we will be meeting.
That's better.
10, 12.
Oh, yeah, so John can make a Zoom call. Sounds
Okay.
good.
From Boston Airport.
I was going to say.
It's a nice lounge, you know.
Oh, yeah, it's a nice lounge, yeah.
Taylor, can you help us pick up where we left off? I believe we had one more site plan review
Yes, we did.
issue to look at, which was 7.3.15.5.
Regarding screening.
Yeah.
Number 6.
And then we could either do that now, or we could just
wasn't a
fold
vote.
that into.
Maybe we should do a vote.
Yeah, I was just wondering if that was sort of a straw vote, or are you going to actually vote and then move on to?
Well, I think
We have voted, we voted on different, we voted for the 5-story, but under different conditions.
That was kind of a wishy-washy.
So I guess the question is,
Take a vote.
what do we? I want to be clear what we're voting on. We're not approving a 5-story.
Yeah, it was a straw poll, I just
Yeah.
wanted.
Yeah, let's motion that the site plan review and special permit review all be based on the 5-story with a payment in lieu,
Yeah.
That it's not for the sixth floor version.
and not for the 6th story, so that it's clear when we're voting on these what we're referring to.
So moved.
Yeah, so
So moved.
Yeah.
So moved.
Second.
let's just we're gonna do roll. We're gonna do roll call votes. Carrie,
Aye.
Jack,
Aye.
Nick,
Aye.
John.
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Vote is unanimous.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I said it couldn't be done.
Keep us honest.
So do you think we should, let's go to 7.3.15.5 and subsection 6, which was screening including the use of natural land features, planting, erosion control. We got an update from Urban Spaces regarding the details of, some of the details, which is, it's hard to look at two parts of the document at
It's
the same time.
it's the supplemental memo. It's on item number 4.
Item number 4.
Yeah, on the first page, it's public accessible amenities is contained within that. We also agreed to reduce the areas designated for building residents and retail patrons from 20 feet to 15 feet off the building. Any dividers or partitions will be limited to 4 feet in height. And speaking only for myself, that satisfies me on this regard, at this point on the site plan review. That was the only one that we had not decided.
That was the only one we had not decided on.
Yes.
This is screening. I'm sorry.
Screening.
Yeah, this is intense.
Screening, right.
Okay. Screening, yeah.
Screening, and appreciate, noting that we appreciate the applicants meeting us halfway on that one.
So the question I had is the use of, this would be the use of plants or plantings, not the use of fences. Is that the understanding? I'm trying to understand what they've proposed, and
This dividers or partitions, I'm not sure. Partitions could be read as fencing.
Paul, could you come over and tell us what you're proposing, and we can make sure that we're all in agreement?
Yes. Thank you. So we did intend to have a mix of, material partitions that could be metal or wood, whatever.
These are between the units.
Right, sort of
Yeah.
running perpendicular to the building.
Right, you mentioned that before, okay. Right.
We didn't want to then extend that to make a cage.
Right.
So hopefully they're just perpendicular partitions. They could be planter boxes with plantings. It could be a mix, a hybrid, but no higher than 4 feet to address the concerns the board had. And then, of course, maybe there'll be plantings that grow taller than 4 feet, but the fixed materials would only be limited to that. And then, of course, like you noted, we'll pull that in so it's not more than 15 feet off the edge of the building.
And this is within the open space that's counted as the private land, not the open space that's shared with the town.
Yes,
The residential private space.
Have we decided what that distance is? We have not decided that.
It was, we had originally
It started at 20.
20, and they proposed 15 as a revision. And we have not, that's what we're discussing right now.
Yeah.
And
This is all new, Carrie.
Yeah. Sorry.
No.
You've been traveling.
There's a graphic. I'm not sure.
I don't think we have that graphic on this slide yet. If you have it right there. Oh, lovely.
I'll pass it out to you. Let's see, make sure it's in here. Okay. It's in the it looks like it's in this package here. It's in the 6-story one on the end, but we'll give you all a copy here.
That's all right. Good.
A really dumb question, which is going to insult your architects, but these are to scale, right?
Yes.
Hey, just scribble stuff.
I just wanted.
Yeah, this gives you a sense. We shaded the town-owned land in a little lighter shade of green, but wanted to note how we're going to do our best to make it contiguous feeling.
Yeah. Okay.
So there's the downstairs unit are a 1-bedroom, and two bedrooms? Is that what your plan is? I forgot.
Yes, that
Still on.
is.
We're still
There's I believe, there's a 3-bedroom.
Oh, there's a 3-bedroom.
2-bedroom and a 1-bedroom.
Okay, gotcha.
These packages are both for 5 and 6, so we have to make sure.
Wait, here you go. Yep, I see.
I appreciate you like
just float them out.
turning on a dime.
Yeah. Oh, I see. There it is. Okay.
6 by mistake, but that's okay.
Yeah. Just pretend the 6 isn't there.
If you'd like to sub those out for these, that might be less confusing longer term here.
That's
That's the full 5-story package, including the landscape plan, which is identical.
okay. Basically, anywhere I see a 6-story, I just ignore the 6th story.
That's an old one. This is the 6.
Oh, okay.
One of them.
You can
Yeah,
go
I think he.
6 and just take the 5 if you like. The pack that we passed out is the 5.
I see. Okay.
I see. Yeah.
You can just rip the other pack if you want.
So what I'm trying to understand in that image, which is helpful, is where there might be fences, which I tend to dislike, but this is discussion, and where there would be green screens, where there would be, I won't lie that I'm having a hard time telling exactly what might be where.
I think the best way to look at it would be almost if you imagine extending the unit partition line. You can see the light gray line that goes inside the building. Something like I've penned out here. Imagine those extend out, up to 15 feet where the dotted line is off the building. You can imagine that little bit that is outside. That could be perhaps a partition, and it'd probably be on the edges of the unit because the unit would want to define its own space maxed out.
Yeah.
And these precast permeable pavers are essentially decks outside the units, like sort of like a.
Yes,
Yeah.
some kind of
Okay.
patio or something.
And so it's, how far are those extending? Is that are you leaving 5 feet between the?
You know, we haven't, we sort of just did this representatively. We're limited on how much degraded area we can offer, right, from the conservation perspective. But it can push and pull a little bit. Like, so for example, that retail space up at Converse, it probably doesn't need all of that brick way. And perhaps we would cut it in half and then distribute a little bit more of it to the units or some combination. All those dark areas, though, whether it's darkish red or medium sort of pink, those can be degraded and we're limited as such. So right now, we actually we've thought through, but we don't have it represented here, whether there'll be like a little walkway connecting those units up to the street, for example. But the white dotted line is the max we go out. That's 15 feet off the building line instead of 20.
And then you're showing the light green are planting. You're assuming those will be plantings, or those, how are we meant to interpret those? We don't have a list of, does Concom have some of this? Does Concom have like a list of species you're considering or anything like that?
I believe we have a planting plan that's provided. Yes, we have to.
Okay, okay, great.
But the dark green and the light green is just meant to represent landscape of
Okay.
some kind.
And
The light green is a shorter grass.
Okay. Oh, gotcha. Okay, gotcha. It's a big issue at the boat club that they plant arborvitae, and so it's like a complete green screen. It gets very, very tall, and everyone is always angry about it. And neighbors cut it down, and
What is
that's
nice,
something
though,
we're
is that
trying to-
they're against, pretty close to against the building.
Right.
They won't be anything further than 15 feet from the building.
Right.
Is public access space, not public space. It's still private land, but it's public access space. No one's going to be planting arborvitae 25 feet into there, presumably.
Exactly.
And there's benefit to the value of those units also, to block off that beautiful view out of the water. I mean, there's a balance, right?
Yeah. They want to see the town hall and they want to see the water. They're not going to want to just look out and see a wall. So I guess my only concern as far as this is I'm actually very pleased with everything you say, except for I'm struggling with the fence because I know you're not going to make something look ugly, but at the same time,
A lot of ugly fences.
there's a lot of ugly fences, exactly.
I mean, maybe this can be something the materials committee considers.
Yeah, I mean, I just would like to make sure that this looks good, but there's no way we're going to negotiate that now. But I'd love to have some understanding that.
I mean, can we put no chain link, like they're.
I mean, but they can come up with.
You don't want chain link fence.
I don't want chain link fence,
Are
but
there
someone can come up.
materials we would include, are there materials you want to suggest that you would
And this is
tend to
something,
use?
this is something we write into the HOA agreement because it's down the road, they could change it, They could say, I don't like.
That would definitely be something that individual unit owners would have the control over. That would be the conduct that should be governing what could and not be put in.
And since only 3 units have access to that, the other 31 units aren't going to want something ugly there that has no benefit for them whatsoever.
Ugly is subjective.
It is true. We've learned that, if nothing else.
Well, what if we, just like you suggested, like everything else, we could kind of run the landscape plan by the design review people?
Yes.
Materials.
Yes.
Okay, and then we can find something that looks good.
I like it. So I would, unless people have additional questions about 7.3, 0.15, 0.5, 0.6, I'd like a motion if somebody's willing to make it.
I move that we, I'm trying to phrase this, Taylor, that we, how do we do that before?
We're out of motion swing here. We
Yeah.
were putting it down last meeting and we lost
Just
it.
that you move to approve the section 7.3.15.5,
Okay,
subsection 6 for site plan review.
We move to approve the section 7.3.15.5, number 6, screening pursuant of the applicant's proposal.
Do you want to add anything there, like, and
Pending
the understanding that...
The understanding that the design review committee would consult on the final choices for
Or inclusion of materials.
inclusion of materials, yes.
HOA doc.
Is that acceptable?
Yes.
Good. So it is for us to, I hope. Is there a second on that?
I will second that. Oh, sorry. John seconds.
Nick? Calling the vote.
Aye.
Aye.
Gary?
Aye.
Jack?
Aye.
Chair votes aye. So that completes the site plan review. Should we move on to the waivers or move on to the special permit review to start?
Waivers.
Okay. So we've had voted some of these waivers, but in the interest of, yeah, and we'll call you back when we need you. In the interest of making sure that we vote the waivers for this building, the first waiver is for the front setback property line. We had approved not to exceed 4 feet, and the 5-story waiver would be not to exceed 4 feet. That is the setback from Mount Vernon Street, which is 0 feet and up to 10 feet with a special permit.
And that widens the sidewalk to a total depth of like, is that becomes sidewalk? Yep. I mean, I think the waiver's fine. I'm just getting my head around what that will look like.
The front setback, this is supposed to say 2 feet. The front setback on Mount Vernon is supposed to be 2 feet. The front setback on Converse Place is supposed to be 4 feet. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay. So we have a small typo there. But
And you did approve, I must have just done it twice. I can assure you that you did previously approve not to exceed 2 feet on the Mount Vernon side.
Great.
So I'd like to vote again. I'd like to vote all these again, just so we're clear as we move through. So I'd like a motion, if somebody's that the front setback on Mount Vernon not to exceed 2 feet.
So moved.
Seconded.
Roll call. Nick?
Aye.
John?
Aye.
Carrie?
Aye.
Jack?
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Vote is unanimous. And then the setback on Converse Place. This was, this is not to exceed 4 feet, and that's,
Yep, correct.
and that we also previously voted. This is just to be complete, so I'd want a motion to again.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call vote. Carrie?
Aye.
Jack?
Aye.
Nick?
Aye.
John?
Aye.
Chair votes aye. The vote is unanimous. This we didn't do, and I had not realized it's the side setback on the mill pond.
I would like you to vote on this unless I have a specific reason from the applicant that it shouldn't be, but I only see it as clarification.
So this is a setback from
The mill pond side.
mill pond side. There's 2 sides to the mill pond, though, are there not?
Their rear side is going towards Town Hall.
Because that's the rear side.
Their rear is going towards Town Hall, because their frontage is technically along Converse.
Well, now isn't it now on Mount Vernon?
Just because they changed their address, no.
Still no.
So that could be changed later,
Okay.
but as right now, it's along Converse, because that's how it's assessed. So their side setback towards the Mill Pond side is 32.7. And I feel that although that space is needed for the for Concom, for wetlands,
Yep.
I feel like they need that space anyway, but I feel like it's just appropriate.
Okay. So not to exceed 33 feet, but also not to change from what's drawn on the diagrams, which is more important to me. I
Wait,
don't
just
want
to
that.
clarify, is the 33 feet from their property line? It's not from the riverfront, right? They're not within the 50-foot setback.
Correct, it's their
So they're-
property
okay.
line.
Yeah, their property line. Great, okay.
And I would love if their architect could tell us if that is actually 33 feet, because
So it's 33 feet, the two are not parallel. The property line on the east.
Yeah.
Can you come on up, only because we don't want to screw this up and find that we screwed it up at the last second. We know, you just say your name.
David Smith. So if you go to a site plan, the building is parallel to Commerce Place. It's not parallel to the east property line. So that 33 feet roughly setback is at the northeast corner. That's the narrowest point.
Okay.
It gets wider.
Okay.
as
Oh,
you
so
go
it
down.
can't be not to
So it can't be not to
It's not to
exceed.
exceed. It's
It's not to be
What
less.
is the widest
a
setback?
minimum of
Minimum of 33.
33 feet.
Yeah, there it is, okay.
And that's dimensioned at the top of that.
I don't know how to zoom in on this.
So on the plan, there's a dimension there, 32.7.
Yeah.
And at the south end of that open space is 50 feet. Same issue when you look at the next, the side facing south, there's different dimensions from the property
Yeah,
line.
7-1, 21-1, 30.8. So 33 is the distance to the town hall side, well, no, it's the
Side
property
property
line.
line.
It's the property line.
It's not the river, it's not the bike path, it's the property line.
There, yeah, 32.7.
How do we word that? Because if we say a minimum of 33, it could. What's the requirement for it? Very little.
It's party wall.
Can we approve a waiver for the setbacks as described in this document? And
No, I have to update the plan, though.
we have to get a date of the plan, yeah. And do we need to approve this waiver? If we do, then we just, we have to circle back on Friday. We could just make sure that, instead of screwing this one up, make sure that we get the exact right number to have, and have that be one thing that's, one hanging each at Friday.
That's why we have Friday.
What's
Do you
the
want
exact
time?
number that you're looking for?
I don't know, but it sounds like
If we
33
can't
feet
put a
might not
max
be the
of-
right number is
We
what
can't
I'm
put a
worried.
max of 33 feet because then 53 feet's way off. So do we put a minimum of 33 feet or a maximum of 53 feet or
Well, isn't that what not to exceed 33 feet does?
Oh, wait, so go to the bottom. So maybe actually.
not to exceed 33 feet at 53 feet setback, then they're exceeding 33 feet?
No, but on the southern part, I think,
What?
I see
No,
what you mean.
but it's a total setback though, so you can never,
So your setback is measured by your least setback?
it's not, but they can't move because of the Concom stuff, they can't move.
Yeah.
I mean, Concom wants them on 100 foot, so that's sort of like.
We're talking about the setback from the bottom, right? The bottom, correct? So it has to be no greater than the largest number there. And so there is one more number. It's 22.5. There's, can you scroll down a tiny bit? 30.8.
For Concom, they can't go within 50 feet of the waterfront, so that's a totally different line than the property line.
But it can't exceed 30.8, which is the largest number of those, if I'm
Although this is, we then can't approve, we probably can't approve the special permit without,
we can't approve a special permit without that last number.
so not to exceed
Not to exceed 31, which is, well, 30.8.
53 feet.
No, but that's in the different dimension. That's the back dimension, not the side. We're just looking at the side dimension. The side is just those three numbers, 22.8, 21.1, and 30.8.
Okay.
So
We're not trying to keep you away. We'd love clarity. We want to make.
I think what I understand, and maybe correct me if I'm wrong, the zoning requires a setback of at least 20 feet in the rear.
In the rear.
And 0 feet on the side. We're meeting that. So there's no waiver here.
No, but the setback on the side, you're not 0 feet on the side, you're 33 feet on the side.
That's, oh, yeah, I see what you're
So
saying.
the waiver is that you're
But it's
further from the
also-
side than you're
It's
allowed.
also not a party wall condition. I mean, in other municipalities, this would be 2 front yards and
So,
2 rear yards.
so I agree with you, and I obviously, I wanted to protect, I was just trying to add an additional thing to protect the board. I obviously unintentionally created all this confusion. I agree with you. We didn't actually even need to have this waiver in the first place, and even in the original building, we didn't. I just wanted to add an extra layer of security, but I think we've already gone this far, and I think they might want to do it now. Or you could.
I'm okay walking away from
Okay.
this.
I'm okay walking away from this too.
So
Violate anything, there's no risk here.
Okay, so it isn't a party wall situation, and
2 rear yards.
that's correct.
So they both meet minimum.
Of 20-foot setbacks.
Yeah.
Of 20-foot minimum setbacks. Okay. Is the board okay? I apologize for adding that
No,
complexity.
I appreciate you trying to dot i's and cross t's, and so we are not voting a waiver on this.
It's not required.
Not required. The next waiver is 7.3.14.6, which is the height waiver. The previously approved waiver was for a building that we are not voting for waiver, so we need to vote a new waiver. That is for the 5-story waiver. That would be not to exceed 59 feet.
I think it's very important that we name and, John, you have a suggestion here, I think.
About what?
We have an absolute, you suggested that we just set an absolute height to sort of settle the cell tower troubles,
Yeah.
because we don't have renderings that have the cell towers drawn.
What page? Yeah, I mean, I think I would like to, we don't have to have the number today, have urban spaces tell us how tall it's going to be, from the top of foundation, cell towers, whatever tower, whatever thing the elevator company says, oh no, we got to have one of these on top too, and how tall the screen. And I wouldn't expect you necessarily to know all the mechanical.
So I think there's a zoning definition, right, for what the 60, not what the height pertains to, and certain things I believe don't count toward that. So, for example, if there's a parapet wall or an antenna that extends beyond it, it's already in a separate calculation. So, with that said, what is the height that we need this waiver to be, do you think?
Top of roof.
Top of roof, which is 59. Does that make so? I don't think that 59 doesn't need to account for the mechanical and the antenna and so on.
We can also have a maximum of 4-foot height per the zoning bylaws in the CBD. The mechanicals and any fencing around the mechanicals of a maximum of 4
I think
feet.
that was your point, is that it contemplates, these different components are contemplated already in the zoning code.
And
The 59 feet is the,
and we'd want to know that 4 feet, whatever allowance is made, we're going to fit in there, and then where that's going to be on the building.
Right.
You know.
I mean, what would be your ideal, because to leave a little wiggle room perhaps if you need it? Because it sounds like we don't need to get it to the inch here.
But we need to, we need to have a number above which it's not going to,
Exactly.
and decide how we measured it too.
Okay.
From the top of what.
And any cell tower is going to be need to be approved by the ZBA.
Right.
So that's going to be a different process. We'll be sad to not see you there, but it'll be someone else making that.
By the time you're through the ZBA, you'll be sad to not see us.
So it'll be a different process. But it's still a good point that it's the height, and I'm not sure. I don't know. Maybe we can. That our limitation on the special permit. I don't know what that does to the ZBA's ability to do a special permit on, it gets complicated in two different.
ZBA gets to, they can do what.
They can say it's 20 feet.
Whatever is within their authority.
Yeah.
I wouldn't want to be a part of anything, I said, well, there's the top of the ceiling here, and then there's another, foot, and then we just added a bunch of stuff, and we had to screen it, and, and it's like, well, the manufacturer, recommends that we put this up on, 18 inches, and it just keeps, end up with kind of a messy top.
Yeah, right. No.
As you're looking down on it, we've seen all kinds of representations about what this will look like depending on where you're standing in town, and you don't want to look like
just
it's
as a
got mess.
reminder, speaking of how things are looking, where in the discussion do we have an agreement that we'll have ongoing back and forth regarding the design, particularly about the roof? Do we have that in here?
That isn't a condition that in this document is a condition that we will impose.
Okay.
And,
So we'll be able to have a back and forth discussion about what the towers will look like.
Well, we can't design.
I just want to be
We're
clear.
not going to design them, but we'll have an honest,
Yeah.
kind
but
of.
it's a
I mean,
late reveal.
I know some things can't go into the building. I mean, but we'll have a brainstorming and we'll be able to think about stuff.
I think
Yeah. I
the
don't
problem is that cell towers aren't under, a permitting of them isn't not under our purview. It's under the ZBA. Am I correct on that?
That's correct. And
He is also entitled to consultant design review, but
Yes.
Section 8.4 of the bylaw very extensively describes the size, shape, height of these facilities. I think, can they overrule the CBD rules and regulations for height and design? I don't know, but I'll read a few for you just so that you can understand. So extension from walls, side-mounted and roof-mounted wireless communications shall not extend beyond the face of any wall or exterior surface in the case of a building or structure that does not have walls by more than 18 inches. So we're talking about very strict dimensions here. If for structures on the side of a structure, it cannot extend more than 8 feet up on any building more than 3 stories. So that would apply here. Roof mounted cannot be more than 15 feet. But if it was side mounted, it cannot go above the parapet. So there's a lot of design considerations based off of what the application is, and considering we don't even know what type of facilities they need, it's hard to make that determination now. But this whole 8.4 is very, very descriptive about their color, how they're screened, how tall they are, where they can be, their lighting, what they look like on buildings. But that's all up to the ZBA to determine.
But the technology is, I think you've made the point yourself, what's up there now is ancient. And what's going to be on the new building is going to be significantly advanced, and I'd assume as the industry, everything gets smaller in that business, so I assume it would be.
We're in active discussions with the telecom, and in fact met with the building inspector and Taylor and others. It's potentially even a pre-existing non-conforming condition, so that might simplify things. But we'll have those discussions. We needed obviously to see the approval that we're trending here toward tonight to continue those discussions. But that'll be the final point of order.
Yeah, I mean, I think on the Stetson building and on the Laundry building, they've got these massive things as you say, they don't go above the parapet. And I think those are probably, like you said, some of them aren't even operational.
That's right.
That's how dated they are.
Yes.
Fish TV up there.
Yeah.
So what I'm hearing, and maybe I'm mistaken, is if we vote a waiver not to exceed 59 feet, which is allowed, it could have an additional 4 feet for mechanicals beyond that 59 feet. And then the cell phone towers have a whole slew of regulations that will be, I don't want to say somebody else's problem, but somebody else needs to review and see how they fit into this. And that somebody is not us. I'm not trying to pass the buck. I'm trying to understand if that's the case.
Although it feels good.
It does feel good. It does feel good, but I'm not saying that out loud. Wait, oops.
And to keep in mind, one of the conditions for telecom for the board that has been recommended is that the board ask the ZBA to include the design review in their discussions.
Okay.
Yeah, great.
But we can only ask,
Yeah,
but I think they would follow that.
Yeah, they tend to. So are people comfortable voting, which is actually a reduction of a previously approved waiver from not to exceed 69 feet to not to exceed 59 feet, with the understanding that 59 feet actually includes up to 4 feet of mechanicals and an undetermined height of cell towers above the 59 feet that I don't think it's possible for us to come to a conclusion on today. I mean, we aren't even the body that would come to that conclusion, is what I'm saying.
All that needs to be in the motion?
No, none of that. Just the 59 feet is all I was thinking. I want to make sure we're comfortable with that.
I mean, we're not comfortable with the possibility of there being another 15-foot tower on there, but we are powerless to control the unknown.
I'm getting a note from our construction team saying that the mechanicals that are required for passive house, they're not sure, but they sometimes size these ERVs that have to sit on stations that may go above the 4 feet. So I wonder if we might be able to provide for maybe something a little higher, like instead of 59 plus 4, only for mechanicals, something that is more flexible.
The bylaw, I think, says 4 feet except where required. I think I can't remember. I was looking at it just today. 4 feet except where required by other statutes, which
Will we be able to hide the mechanicals? But
our goal is to
with an intentional shape of architecture.
And I think with the 5-story configuration, the intent is to move those mechanicals in also, so you see them less as you're standing on the street with the experience.
But we did appreciate your memo, and I know that they want to address those issues.
Yeah, I mean, it's a conversation. It's
That's great.
hopefully.
So maybe that covers us then.
I think we're not voting the mechanicals. That is in the bylaw. And if you exceed the 4 feet, I think there's language that specifies that. I could pull it up, but but I don't know that I need to unless people want the exact language. I think that
Wait, the exact language from the bylaw or the exact language from the waiver?
the waiver is just not to exceed 59 feet.
Yeah, I think that's fine because the bylaw covers it.
The bylaw specifically says minimum height required by the state building code. So if the building code
If greater.
makes your HVAC or whatever higher, it says minimum height required by building code.
Yeah, that's what I couldn't remember the exact language. So I would welcome a motion for a waiver not to exceed 59 feet.
So moved.
Seconded.
Roll call. Nick.
Aye.
John.
Aye.
Carrie.
Aye.
Jack.
Aye.
Chair votes aye. The waiver is unanimous. Next waiver is the FAR. We previously voted, and I can't remember, I thought we had previously voted not to exceed 2.8, but either way, it says not to exceed 2.82 here. I would like confirmation from the architect that the FAR is not to exceed 2.55.
For the 5-story.
Okay. So we have confirmation that the architect agrees that it's not to exceed 2.55, which is remarkably close to almost being 2.5, which is even another tier down than, but either way, it is approvable in the PUD.
I move that we approve the five-story waiver not to exceed 2.55 FAR.
Second.
Roll call vote. Carrie?
Aye.
Jack?
Aye.
Nick?
Aye.
John?
Aye.
Chair votes aye. The vote is unanimous.
Brian, if you don't mind, I just want to make a clarifying comment on your height waiver. The 59 feet, it's still a special permit. It's still relief under PUD special permit, not open space. Open space does allow 59-foot buildings, but it does exclude open space that was generated as an outcome of wetlands buffers. So the 59 feet is still a PUD dimensional special permit.
Okay, do we need to revote anything? Or is that? Okay. Thank you for the clarification. The last, well, there's two more, but the next waiver is previously we voted to accept a digital model as an alternative for the physical model. I hope we don't want to go back on that, but I would like to just vote that again for clarity. If somebody would make a motion to that effect.
So moved.
Second.
It's yours.
Okay, roll call. Carrie?
Aye.
Jack?
Aye.
Nick?
Aye.
John?
Aye.
Chair votes aye. That vote is unanimous. The last waiver is not something, wait, what is this? The last waiver is to accept a payment in lieu, and, well, actually, I think we can vote this waiver. This is just the timing of the waiver, not the amount of the, so this is that we're required to have the payment made in full prior to the issuance of a building permit, and this would be us agreeing to allow the payment in lieu to be given to us 90 days after the certificate of occupancy.
Shouldn't that be within 90 days?
Did I just say it? Did I?
I don't know. Well, we should get a clarification there.
Or they could pay it right on the dot in 90 days?
Yeah, I think
within 90 days.
I think it should be within 90 days. I agree, because otherwise they pay it in 89 days and then they're out of.
This, we're like, oh,
Or 90.
come on in. You brought something.
So, is there any downside to this that we're like?
How is that, how is this sort of enforceable if you have the CO?
That's a good question.
Because, further up around page 20, it's talking about paying it when you get the permit, I think.
Yeah, should we say prior to issuance of?
And, if you, so, I mean, I can see the reason for doing it is usually, sometimes you don't get the CO until, you're about to pass papers on one of the units. And I don't 100% know how this is, sometimes you get, partial CO. You can do some of the unit, the building department may agree to release, 10 units or 6 units or all the units on the 5th floor, and, you get that CO, and, you get some money in and kind of keep it all running.
I see what you're saying.
Because completing 30, whatever the number of units is, 34 units completely done, and now we go to sell them. That's kind of not the way you usually do it.
Right.
Usually.
We need to be a little more definitive about what we mean by a certificate of occupancy. Certificate of occupancy of the majority of the units?
Yeah, I don't, you want to, I can understand wanting to make the money work a little easier. I think coming up with the money when you get the permit, is a little aggressive, if they were actually providing units, you would provide them at the end. You wouldn't have to hand over the money now. But I guess I'd have to think about it a little, how you might.
Well, was the
give like a give a suggested idea. Wait,
Yeah, come on up. And while we're asking what you intend, what teeth are there if you or someone subsequent to you doesn't pay?
Right.
You must have enough.
Well, what we were thinking we could do is make it a temporary CO. So that will enable us to occupy the building and convey units. So it could be perhaps 90 days within the issuance of a temporary CO. And then of course, if the payment isn't ever made, then you repeal the temp CO. And,
But that's kind of like,
that is a real issue.
After people have moved in?
It's almost, but it's a major problem for us we've had this before where if, first of all, there's half the building wouldn't be, it could be the first, CO too. Doesn't have to be after all units, but that is something that other municipalities have used before with real teeth, because if we don't comply, then they pull the permit and it creates all sorts of mortgage covenant violations for all owners, and the whole thing's falling apart. But that was just the way we thought we would do it. If there's a better way to do it, we certainly can, but we thought perhaps the payment could be 90 days from the issuance of the first temp CO available to the builder.
the first temp CO.
How long is the temporary CO? Like how?
Well,
often they're issued temporarily for a reason, like maybe the landscaping isn't done.
But temporarily is a month, is 6 months, is?
It's really up to the building inspector. He might say, Tom might say, it looks to me like you've got about 90 days worth of work here left, so I'm going to give you a temp CO, but you have to finish these things within the next 90 days. But that would trigger the payment regardless. Even if he says it's 6 months worth of work, we only have 90 days.
right, it's, the reason a temporary CO is not given, if there's a safety issue, like you don't have the fire alarm working. But it might be very much landscaping, it's the wrong time of the season, or pavement repairs in the street perhaps, details like that, which, if it was this time of year, like, they're not letting you cut the street up now. So you would get a temporary, and there's usually, there's a department that's requiring it, maybe engineering. And there'd be a discussion about what makes sense. We're going to go till middle of the summer or something. But
to your point, the timeline starts ticking for us, regardless of how much time we have to provide to complete the work. It starts ticking with us the moment it's issued. Then 90 days later, we have to make the payment.
As long as there's some teeth, which is what I mean, again, I assume you'll pay. But at that point in time, who knows what's happened, and who maybe someone in your shoes doesn't pay. But if we have the ability to say you don't get your certificate of occupancy, that's pretty bad for whoever's trying to sell
Legally,
it.
is that fine with you? Does that?
I guess I'm thinking, rather than using the word temporary, conditional. You're granted this condition on doing these things. And
then it
you give it a
becomes a
certain,
permanent CO if they do those things?
then, I'm sorry?
And then does that become, if it's conditional and then they complete those items, then the same certificate becomes permanent?
At that point, then the building commissioner would issue a final certificate of occupancy.
Does that raise any concerns for us? Like if they finish everything in 10 days, then they have certificates of occupancy for 80 days before?
No, I think one of the issues would be paying, this would be one of the requirements.
this is
Okay.
the reason for the condition. There might be other reasons, but this is sufficient to.
So in the motion, do we need to specify that this is or is not a temporary conditional certificate, just a certificate of occupancy, any kind? It doesn't need to be specified in this
Well, if
motion.
you're asking
In this
for
motion.
the temporary, which I would prefer you call it a conditional, then I would put that in the motion.
Yes.
Yeah,
Okay.
I agree. Conditional probably.
Yeah, and one of
Less
the conditions
interpretation.
can be a certain amount of time.
So we might want.
Are we making this motion without knowing what the payment in lieu is?
Yes,
Or-
because we can do this waiver.
Okay.
We don't know what the amount is yet, but that will be something that we will be
Okay,
writing.
so we totally have to rewrite this. So we would move to approve a payment agreed upon pending negotiation with a housing partnership board to be made to the Winchester Affordable Housing Fund administered by the Board of Select Board. Sorry, for both a condominium. Do we need all of this for both a condominium home?
She's reading the left, the payment, the agreed upon payment shall be made.
Just read just make the right part.
Yeah.
The motion.
Yeah, that we move to waive.
So we
Approve
move
to accept.
We move to.
Would you like me to say it for you?
Jack. Take it away, Jack. I'm so
Move to accept a waiver for payment in lieu of on-site inclusionary housing units to be paid within 90 days of the first conditional certificate of occupancy.
So moved.
Miss anything? No. Okay.
Is there a second?
I will second it.
Okay. Nick?
Aye.
John?
Aye.
Carrie?
Aye.
Jack?
Aye.
Chair votes aye. That vote is unanimous. So we've gotten through the waivers, and this is the reason I want to go till 10 tonight, is because I want to get as far as we can in this, so we have as little left to do on Friday that could derail us. So I'd like to start with special permit review. I'm going to kick you back, guys, but we're going to let you keep your walking legs on.
Gonna get your stuff.
So special permit review 9.4.2. I think we should just start at the beginning.
Mind if I keep the
Yeah, I would love if you would do that.
of special permit. So what has been completed now is site plan review and the waivers which were requested by the applicant. Special permit does differ from site plan review. You will see a lot of overlap. For example, screening is going to be one of them. Traffic is going to be one of them. We've already discussed those in length in site plan. This is where you're going to want to really hammer home your conditions. This is where your conditions stick. But the most important thing to do with each section is, if you decide to vote, which you should, on each section, that you decide, for example, let's take community needs which are served by the proposal. Be very specific in what those needs are. Be very specific. The more specific you are, the better off you are. This is where you're going to get challenges. So the motion, I don't think, doesn't necessarily need to be a long, drawn-out, paragraph-long motion, but if you can refer back to the specific details
To the minutes.
of why you made that decision.
Yes.
And with a special look at, if we can make it to the last one, for example, where it's asking you to go look at other parts of the bylaw, make your decision based off of what the other parts of the bylaw say.
Okay. And my question, follow-up question is, there's a number of suggested conditions that I know you've reviewed with urban spaces. We don't need to explicitly list those, other than to say that we, because I've reviewed all of them and I agree with them all. I want to make sure that
I have combined them. So, for example, for the community needs, there's in the suggested conditions, there's a general, but then there's a section for community needs which go through commercial uses and open space, so on and so forth. So I have tied the suggestions to the actual sections, but there is a general, there was no place to put construction stuff, which I'm most important to me, but so yeah, you don't necessarily have to read out the conditions, but please point to them.
Okay. So 9.4.2.1 is community needs which are served by the proposal. So let's talk about the community needs that are met by this proposal, and then have a motion to it.
Yeah, well, one of the core purposes of the CBD bylaw, which was adopted 10 years ago, more than 10 years ago, was to add housing to the downtown, the town center. And I think with 34 units, this represents a significant contribution to that goal.
Agreed.
We specifically heard from the Council on Aging that this will add inventory that is sought by by seniors looking to age in place with good proximity to downtown services, transportation, and the Jenks Center.
Agreed.
This project maintains and enhances public access to the Mill Pond and the Tri-Community Bikeway.
Agreed. I would add that this proposal has an agreement to a really good agreement to work to get an commercial eating establishment that would require, from the date of 180 days after issuance of the first certificate of occupancy, exclusively looking for an eating establishment to rent that space, and if they're unable to, only then move on to another space that would be also a community needs space as best possible. So I think that really meets what I was trying to get to enliven the waterfront area and this community need that we do not have any waterfront dining areas.
Potentially unique to this applicant's project, this proposal also, this project also preserves probably the maximum amount of public open space around the waterfront that we could expect at this parcel.
The project also takes advantage of our fine MBTA transportation center, proximity of all of about 100 feet to the station, which again was part of the purpose of the CBD bylaw.
And besides the commercial establishment on the Mill Pond, the retail, or the commercial space on Mount Vernon extends the commercial area of this center business district in an additional however many feet, or another half block or something, which really doesn't have right now. Pull back. And we widen the sidewalks a bit.
With that, does anybody want to make a motion on 9.4.2.1?
How should that be phrased?
It's quite a lengthy motion.
No, I think those points are all, I think the motion just going to be
They go to
approved.
the minutes. Then with
Yeah. I think we don't have to include those all in the motion. The motion is just to approve.
Too hard to include them, yeah.
What, Taylor?
It's too hard to include all your comments. Your comments have been recorded.
I would argue that we need to approve section 9.4.2.1, including the comments that were made during the meeting. Conditions, yes.
that the proposal meets the community needs of this. The community needs are served by the proposal.
Yeah.
Second, but a little discussion.
Yeah.
Do we add a mention of the payment? I mean, we fall short on a community need here, and we hope to replace it with the pay. Do we address that, or do we skip it?
I don't. I mean, the payment in lieu is meeting a community need. The absence of on-site affordable units is not meeting community needs.
That's what I'm saying. Do we mention
But I don't
it
know
here?
that it also doesn't. There's other things it doesn't meet too. It doesn't have.
Yeah,
it
no, I'm
doesn't
just
have-
thinking of the purpose of the section. And if
But the payment is part of a community need. I mean,
creates
it may not be all that you could get,
the
but
Affordable Housing Trust. It's just a point of discussion.
Yeah, no, I
Just
think
making
it's
sure we're not
important.
overlooking it.
So I'm not exactly sure what we had as a motion.
The motion simply says that the community needs are served, are well served by this proposal.
And do we want to just include and the condition and as well as the conditions listed in the staff report are must be met. Okay. So that's the motion you just made.
Motion.
Second.
Yep, it's seconded.
Roll call vote. Nick.
Aye.
John.
Aye.
Carrie.
Aye.
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Vote is unanimous. Moves on to section 9.4.2. I keep on saying point 2 because I don't know how to say bracket 2.
Subpoint?
This is traffic flow, safety, including parking and loading. This is something that we did look at before, and there's a section on. So there's, you've already, section, conditions, proposed conditions 9, 10, 11, 12, and 13. There are some conditions that were recommended both by the town planner and the town engineer as far as, as you can see them as far as what traffic and circulation plan must be submitted to the town. There needs to be outreach, loading, trash collection services. I mean, you've all seen these. I'm not trying to reread it.
Keep it to myself.
I agree with all the conditions.
yeah.
You want to go back up?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's good.
So I think with those conditions, which are were vetted by the town engineer and the town planner. There certainly are steps in there. It's not going to be, it's not simple to get from here to there, but I think that the traffic and circulation, traffic flow and safety, including parking and loading, is I think it's met. And I would note that we actually, while not required, the number of parking spaces now exceeds the number of units.
Is this the
Exceeds the
only
standard.
place that we would address the bike path? We don't-
No.
Okay.
Oh, that will be in impacts to neighborhood, I think, under streetscape.
Okay.
The buckets aren't.
They're not that clean.
Yeah.
They're leaky buckets.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, someone like to
I'd
make
like
a
you to
motion?
give a little bit more reasoning as to why you were approving this.
Okay, well, additional reasons why we're approving this. Parking exceeds the amount of parking
Required.
per units, and not only required, but exceeds the number of units. And the town engineer has vetted this and given specifications of what needs to be done to assure traffic flow and safety. That is work that will be ongoing. It's not completed. We do not
Yeah,
have.
we're kind of approving the work getting done.
Yes.
Not approving the plan as written.
As we spoken in the past, the wider 10-foot sidewalk also improves the safety,
Yep.
pedestrian safety.
Yes.
Agreed. I think I sort of agree with you, Carrie, that we are saying that the plan to move forward is acceptable and appropriate. I don't know that we can vote on this and say that we know what the traffic flow is going to be like, because that work is still ongoing and will be after the issuance of special permit.
What else would you like us to say
No,
about this?
it's you're good.
Okay.
So if somebody wants to make a motion to approve this 9.4.2.2 with the conditions set forward below, as well as the comments just made.
So moved. John and I are in sync. Usually
One
it's
of you
Jack
moved,
and I now.
one of you moved and one of you, which one? One of-
I'll second.
I'll take the motion.
Nick,
Aye.
John,
Aye.
Carrie,
Aye.
Jack.
Aye.
Chair votes aye. The vote is unanimous. That moves on to 9.4.2.3, adequacy of utilities and other public services. This,
Great cell reception.
at least in the end, we will. In the interim, we might not, but
Fair point.
there were a number of conditions recommended by the planner and the engineer. I will admit that while I'm an engineer, most of these are beyond my, I rely on someone who puts out a report and says the stormwater discharge will be acceptable. I don't know that I can understand the reports beyond the executive summary.
Is there anything that we need to consider in this about the construction plan? When does the construction plan get hammered out? I mean, this is on a waterfront area, so it's sensitive.
Yeah, so the construction plan is all detailed in the first, in the fourth condition. The staff is recommending a fairly detailed construction plan. No, something just to note, whether we're talking about utilities or traffic or anything like this. Yes, we are approving plans that are to be created and to be approved at a later date. However, the staff has worked very closely with the applicant, their engineer, their architect for a year now. We're very comfortable with the direction, and they've made it very clear to us that they have worked, that they're willing to respond to town requests. we still have a long way to go when it comes to document creation and approvals at an administrative level. But town staff is fairly comfortable proceeding as long as these conditions, the specific plans in the conditions are created.
Okay. And that includes all the flood control, this is including all the stormwater, but also the flood control mitigation, all of these things are included in here, and I see that there are reports pending, and we're kind of just allowing that to proceed and saying we know it's being done diligently.
That is correct, and we've seen some versions of these, and we have in the past notified the board of our, particularly the engineering department's work with the applicant. But yes, stormwater is included in that. I think that for this particular section, the two that are pretty unique to this project are the temporary and permanent wireless communication facilities, which you may decide to condition. However, the requirement of them going to the ZBA is a requirement. So whether you condition or not, that process will remain the same. But you may feel more comfortable adding it into this section.
Adding in permission for it to be there, or adding in a reference to the ZBA, or what are
Reference to the ZBA.
Okay, so pending approval by the ZBA, we include telecom structures as part of the special permit or something?
Yeah, the proposed structure and application shall be designed and submitted in accordance with wireless communication facility provisions of section 8.4. That's the only, I only bring it up because that's the only unique part of any of these conditions, whether there was this building or 972 Main, the staff would make the same recommendations.
I think one of the important conditions here, which goes without saying, but I'm glad we have it in there, is that Mount Vernon Street will not be closed at any time.
It can't be.
But I think it's important. It's important to have as a condition there that they understand that they're not going to come back and say, "Well, now we need to close it because we're bringing in a big rig." No, because that's where the fire station is, so it can't be closed. And Converse Place shall remain open, but they can request temporary closures. That's different because they might have a big rig come in there and they have to do something, and they could request a closure, but they cannot request a closure of Mount Vernon Street. I just think I like that in there because I think that's important. I mean, the location across from the fire station requires that.
I mean, when they do close it, I think they relocate the equipment.
When they close it for the Glendora Memorial Race,
Or the
fire trucks have to go somewhere
Right,
else.
they have
Yeah,
to-
they do go park somewhere else.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, it does get closed, but
Yeah.
there's a cost and effort to,
But this condition would say that it can't ever be closed. And I think that's important.
Because it's not more important than ENCA.
Nothing is more important than ENCA.
Is that, okay, I mean,
Maybe town day.
Or because we take
is that reasonable?
Yes. Yes. I think it's reasonable. Because they don't need to close the road.
Okay.
ENCA does need to close the road because they're using the street.
Unless you bring dizzy dragons.
They bring Dizzy Dragons, it's all,
Can all be renegotiated.
or fried dough.
Yes.
So, I guess with this one, based on peer review and information from the town engineer and town planner, the utilities and other public services are adequate and will meet the needs of this building, both during construction and once it's completed.
Yeah, pending final.
Yeah.
Good, so moved.
Second.
Nick?
Aye.
John?
Aye.
Carrie?
Aye.
Jack?
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Votes unanimous. That brings 9.4.2.4. This is impacts on neighborhood character, including the extent to which A, building form and materials are compatible with the prevailing scale and character of building of the neighborhood. B, architectural features add visual character to the neighborhood, for instance, example, dormers, lintel, bay windows, open porches, chimneys, and C, the patterns and proportions of windows are consistent.
Take it away, Nick.
Where are we? We're back on page 50, 20?
21,
21.
942.
I think that Hassan Associates has done a very thoughtful job of incorporating components and features that fit in with and echo that of the other historic downtown buildings. Specific details like problematical roof coloration could be worked out later with the design team later on.
There are some features, I was looking at their website, and there are some features on some of their other buildings that are historic. And I was thinking to myself, well, we could have those. Do we not rate?
What?
And part of the thing that I sent out, it was included a lot of their other work.
Yeah, good stuff.
And yeah, I mean, some of it had an arch curve over the windows, which is very classic. And that's something that we can incorporate. We can have symmetrical windows, which give it a little more gravitas for what we're looking for. So I guess my concern is I'd like to have a working relationship, because I understand that in these processes, the building doesn't necessarily look like what we see. It's an ongoing process. It's a moving, evolving, growing thing. So at the end of the day, it may not look like this. So we want to be able to be involved, as things move forward. So I guess I would just like the written thing here to reflect or to allow us to continue to have a conversation about some of these things.
Make that motion.
I mean, is that captured by the condition that they continue to work with the materials committee and the design review, or is that, do you want to fill it out were we getting a response from the applicant?
They've already agreed to that.
Okay, great.
So that's in there.
Yep, and they've agreed to it. Yeah.
Okay. You just.
So, great. There's three parts to this, and that's part of this. One is scale and character. One is architectural features. I feel like that's architectural features.
Mm-hmm.
Patterns and proportions of windows are consistent, and then the building form materials are compatible with the prevailing scale and character. So I think that goes to point B. That's all I was trying to say. I'm not saying it doesn't go to the other things.
It seems like A and C go into point B.
Yes, I agree. No, I was agreeing with you. I just was saying it was going to B and then A and C if we wanted to address them as well. Is all I was trying to. But you're right. Because the building materials, this being a brick building in our downtown center, which is largely brick buildings, is certainly compatible. The scale, while larger than most of the buildings in town, certainly we've brought the building height down. The scale has been reduced, and the scale has been dramatically reduced from the 2022 approved plan. This is much more in scale and remains in character of the buildings in the neighborhood. But I'll be the first to agree. 5 stories is still quite a bit bigger than most of the other buildings in the downtown. So, but I think it's compatible, and I think it's appropriate in scale. But we're trying to get all the things out there, so it's all in the.
No, it's good. It's good.
What's at stake here? What are your thoughts, Carrie?
I mean, we had discussed this during the site plan review. Essentially, within the purview of the PUD,
Mm-hmm.
it respects the architecture of the downtown and it's the best scale we're probably going to get with the addition of 34 living units in the middle of downtown. So as a single building, even across the street in the CBD, it blows the whole scale up and it doesn't make any sense. But as a PUD, this is in the character of the downtown. And
So it's the best we can
appropriately
probably
scaled.
get, and what is required of us? What do we have to do?
We're just making that, we're just approving that.
We're
bullet
giving
point. We're
comments, and then we're going to
criteria
approve
for why.
9.4.2, or not.
Then it does, that it
Meets the,
Meets
that requirement.
meets the neighborhood character.
Right.
With all those comments that we made and with the conditions that were suggested below.
And with the condition that Taylor mentioned, that we get to be involved.
Yep, we can even call it out by number. I mean, all of the design-related conditions are 24 through 32. And Nick, the one that you're specifically asking about is the roof and upper floor design. The red is because I didn't know if it was going to be two floors yet. Yeah, so the scope in the review shall be limited to the roof-related architectural details, architectural detailing, materials, colors, and finishes, and shall not alter or modify the approved building height, massing, floor area ratio, footprint, or any aspect of the project except for the roof design elements. The subcommittee shall provide a recommendation to the planning board for final review and approval. The review should be completed within 60 days of the submission of a completed roof design plan unless an extension is agreed upon by the planning board and the applicant.
What's a potential subcommittee?
So that's the subcommittee is the planning board, the design review committee, and the historical commission.
We've got the streetscape in there, we've got permanent street tree committee, looking at species, I'm happy. I think it looks good.
So would you like to make a motion on 9.4.2.4?
I would move that we approve 9.2.2.
Somebody like to second that, John?
Second.
Roll call. Carrie?
Aye.
Jack?
Aye.
Nick?
Aye.
John?
Aye.
Chair votes aye. The vote is unanimous. That brings us to 9.4.2.5, adequacy of proposed screening and buffering. We talked this to death, but I think it's important that we look at the proposed condition, which I think is not exactly what we agreed on, so I think we want to make sure we understand. Because the proposed language says no fences. I think what we agreed on, so it's, I don't know how to, I'm not gonna mess with his. So this would be on page 27, the screening and buffering proposal. I think what we agreed was not that fences were prohibited, but that we would have design review of the fences if fences were proposed. And I think we all sort of agreed they shouldn't be chain link, but I think that was kind of obvious. It's not going to be chain link.
Yeah, yeah.
But if they put chain link on this building, that would be a
Things
crime.
have gone so hard
Do we have to
sideways.
do fences?
We don't.
I mean, could we do like low-growing lilacs?
We don't have.
So specific, I love it.
I mean, we would
Tulips.
all these conditions. We need to
Have a
agree
great
with all
common
these conditions, or else they're like we want to make sure. I suspect they would. Again, I'm not speaking for them. I suspect they would agree to anything on this manner. But I think the question is whether or not a fence is unreasonable.
I mean, fences are antithetical to what Winchester represents, except if you have a dog or you have problems. Special.
I think the fences are designed for people with kids who have
who need a fence.
Yeah.
But that's very specific.
Wandering toddlers,
Well, I think-
like we put up our fence.
I think
Absolutely.
good fences make good neighbors, they say, but obviously in this case, that's not what we're looking for. I just want to be clear that we previously in site plan review said we aren't excluding fences, we're just saying those fences need to be reviewed. So I want to be clear that our condition here shouldn't be now we need fences are prohibited, because that would go against what we just said, what, how many hours ago?
3?
Yeah, no
And-
one loves it. We prefer plantings. Plantings can get too tall. Nothing is perfect.
Yeah, because you can put plantings and they get to be 20 feet tall, and then are we going to tell them they have to cut them down? So I think, I mean, this is just my opinion. I think we talked this to death before, but I think that what we agreed to, which was the condition was the condition was not that fences wouldn't be allowed, but that any fences would have to be reviewed by the design review committee. And that otherwise, I think what's been proposed actually does a great job of not walling off the side of this building and actually making it open to the open space and expanding the visual line that will make the space feel bigger, so that the public realm, publicly accessible realm, doesn't feel like it hits a wall in private. Rather, it's clear that there's a delineation, but it extends on. So I think
I agree.
I've lost where we were, what page we were on.
We're on 20.
We were
Screening.
21.
21.
That was where
I mean, that's my opinion, but we're not excluding fences. We're just saying, so the condition would be changed. It would be that the inclusion of fences must have reviewed by the design review committee, if they so choose. I guess the design review committee could say no. Anything else that people other than me want to say regarding the adequacy of the proposed screening and buffering? Anybody want to make a motion?
Your turn, Nick.
Go for it.
Move that the proposed screening and buffering is adequate.
Is there a second?
Second.
Do we need to condition it the way we did?
With the conditions that, but with all the conditions that we just gave. The condition is, as listed below, does not exclude fences. It simply says that fences must be reviewed, but the height of them is still limited to 4 feet.
Yeah, great. Good.
Roll call vote. Nick?
Aye.
John?
Aye.
Carrie?
Aye.
Jack?
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Vote is unanimous. Moves on to 9.4.2.6. Impacts on the natural environment, including but not limited to change in topography, installation of retaining walls, or the removal of mature trees.
I think we've beaten this one to death. Yeah.
But we're doing none of those.
I don't know if we
Yeah.
reopen natural environment, but
We're not changing the topography.
no grade change at all, is there?
No.
Is there a grade change? No.
I mean, if any, it's minor.
There's no retaining walls going in that I'm aware of.
Nope.
And they're adding trees.
And no mature trees are being removed, is my understanding.
That's true.
Is there a...
No, I don't know if this is.
All the mature trees are on town land.
Yeah, you're right. But there's a big bush right on the corner. I guess that
I'm not
doesn't-
sure we're going to constitute that as a mature tree. I just want to-
It's kind of ugly.
Yeah.
Well, it's been
It's
destroyed
not a
by the
low-growing
snow
lilac.
plows. You know.
But I think there's a net gain in trees.
Yeah, Ed, I agree.
You know.
I think there's a net gain in the natural environment as well. Right now, we have the area closest to the water where there's runoff is parking.
Yep.
And that will no longer be the case. There won't be oil running from cars into the water.
And the salt, the ice melt,
Salt, yep, yep.
which, you know,
I think the natural environment's also going to be improved. Sightlines, from the sense that I made a packet a long time ago that the access that the public will have will allow the viewscape, and I don't know if we want to call that natural environment, but the viewscape will be much improved for residents of the town. Right now, if you stand in the middle of the parking lot, that's where you'd get the best view of the water. In the future, that would be on a grassland, open space.
Well, I would move that we find that the proposal is a net gain for the natural environment, all things considered. If that's a proper motion.
I would second that.
Carrie?
Aye.
Jack?
Aye.
Nick?
Would you hesitate?
John?
Aye.
Chair votes aye.
Still, it does hurt my soul a little bit.
The next would be 9.4.2.7, fiscal impacts, including impacts on town services, tax base, and employment. But I think it's important that I don't know if it comes under this, but we had as a condition money to go to maintenance of Mill Pond, where is that under?
Contribution.
Contribution. And I appreciate that a change was made so that the maximum amount would be increasing by an inflation rate. So that was, originally it was not to exceed $5,000, which respectfully would go to zero over time with inflation. I'm clueless whether that's the right inflation rate to use. It was, to remind us what number?
CPIU, it's what we use in all of our other documents. It's the urban index of consumer price.
I mean, I'll admit that I'm not savvy enough to know if that's the right index to use.
Yep,
but if is it?
No,
okay.
it's sort of the one you use. It's
Okay, great.
accepted. Everyone likes to use
Thank
for
you.
this. Yeah.
So I think that's a huge advantage to the town. It's a small amount of money, but it's money in perpetuity to maintain the shoreline of the Mill Pond. In addition, the tax revenues are going to be substantial over the years. The building permit fee is going to be substantial. Financially, this is a huge boon for the town as far as increasing tax base and fiscal impacts.
In terms
and
of
some amount of employment as well for people working in restaurants and stores.
In terms of the impact on town services, I would conjecture that it is unlikely to add more than a handful of students to the school system, if that many. I think this is more likely to be older, empty nesters moving in here and young professionals without children. I think that was spoken before many times before by both the applicant and others.
Portable units.
Sorry.
What?
Is there anything that I just want to know? Is there anything we need to know? Because I don't want your conversation to not be something that we need to know. If we don't need to know, we can not know. No, I don't mind at all. If it's important that we know it.
We were just clarifying that the legal conversation that might take place between their attorney and our attorney to iron out all the details that support the possibility of the fifth
I asked him a
option.
very simple question. I just asked who their attorney was, if you knew.
Oh, okay. Okay, perfect.
Sorry.
So, no, it didn't. Well, I didn't mind at all. I just didn't want to miss out. I felt, FOMO. I was missing out of.
Yeah, no, it wasn't substantive. I just was curious because I thought he knew who it was because
Okay.
he mentioned, and
Okay.
he doesn't. So that's
It's not here.
Sorry. I would repeat briefly what I just said was that I don't think that there are going to be a lot of students added to the school system here, if any.
So
I can't think of any
I'm
other impact it would have on.
I'm hesitant to go that direction because when I was on the school committee, we estimated about a half a student per unit added to town, and that's generally the addition.
So 17 students in this building?
Roughly. I mean, well, it's not a classroom because it would be across K to 12, so it's half in. I mean, if that's what happens, half in elementary school, a third in middle school, and
I put a bet on that one.
I'll take it. Bottle of good whiskey.
You don't.
That's good. Okay.
Taking a turn.
But there will be employment additions. There will be a huge addition in tax base, and there'll be an addition to the Concom.
And the patronage to downtown businesses?
And while not established the exact amount, there will be a payment in lieu for affordable housing. That, well, we're not discussing the exact amount yet. That will.
Well, I move that we find that this project has a positive impact, on fiscal impact on the town services and tax base and employment.
Is there a second?
Second.
Is the payment for the maintenance of the mill pond one of the conditions? Mutually agreed terms. Yeah, we'll work with Planning Board and Conservation Commission to establish mutually agreed terms for the annual payments. And we got, can you summarize what we got from the Concom regarding those payments? I mean, I could do it too. They seem to be in favor of them as one.
Yeah, as proposed by the applicant, the Concom is in favor of the proposal by the applicant with one minor change, that the commission be a part of the review, that the commission get to review the MOU before approval.
That seems reasonable, and the applicant nodded in affirmation of that being acceptable as well. So,
We have a motion and a second.
yeah, we have a motion and a second. Nick?
Aye.
John?
Aye.
Carrie?
Aye.
Jack?
Aye.
Chair votes aye.
Not to point out the leaky buckets, but where were we, speaking of Concom, where did we land with the open space agreements? Did we land anywhere with open space agreements?
You have a condition to enter into a written agreement with the town to convey or otherwise legally guarantee permanent public access to a designated portion of on-site open space. The location, dimensions, terms of public access shall be approved by the planning board and recorded with the registry of deeds.
When does that happen? Like, just like.
For some reason, I'm saying issuance of sign permit. I think that's wrong.
Yeah, I was wondering about
What
that.
bucket does that
I made a
fall
note.
under?
I'd say
We potentially pass it.
building permit or building permit, I guess. Yeah, I mean, you can make an argument for CO. I mean, you can't use the space until after construction.
Right,
You have the time until CO.
Okay.
I think that's reasonable.
Okay.
So it is 10 p.m.
We have one item.
We have one item left on this, but we're going to need to come back on Friday regardless. Do we want to look at this one right now? This is 9.4.2.8, impacts on historic resources as defined in section 10.
I'm happy to.
We have 5 minutes, we can do this, right?
I would start off by saying, first of all, that the Historical Commission, which made a negative recommendation on this project, was made on a sixth-floor version. We cannot infer that they're also negative on a 5-floor version. And so I think that kind of negates, or I'm not sure exactly what it does, although as I pointed out at a previous meeting, their review of a 5-floor version on a much bigger footprint 4 years ago was very strongly affirmative. So take it for what it's worth.
I would also add that while not speaking for the Historic Commission, we received an email from the Historic Commission chair tonight indicating that he personally believed that the 5-story 34-unit with a payment in lieu would be best for the town and the preservation of the CBD's historic architecture and streetscape. I can't infer that extends to the rest of the committee.
We had one member here earlier, but she's left.
She's left. So, but either way, we can't. We know that they voted unfavorable action on the 6-story, and we know that a prior committee voted favorable action on a 5-story larger structure. Do we want to look at section 10 at all right now?
Yes, you do.
Yes, we do.
We do, yep.
What is section 10?
Well, so it's, yeah, they just say section 10. It's how historical resources are defined.
I've got that here. It's in chapter 14. Hang on. Chapter 14, section 3.5, if that's what you're talking about.
Trying to get this. No, it's going to be historic resource under the zoning bylaw.
Okay.
But that's also reasonable to look. How about you start there and then?
Well, to determine whether a this goes to a particular building to be deemed historically significant. And that may or may not be pertinent here, but I think it's worth considering that it's one of four things. It's either associated with a significant, associated with events that made a significant contribution to the broad patterns of the town's history, or is associated with lives of significant persons in our past, or it embodies the distinctive characteristics of a type, period, or method of construction, or represents the work of a master, or possesses high artistic values, or represents a significant and distinguishable entity whose components may lack individual distinction. And I think that C is what pertains here. Or D has yielded or may likely yield information important to history or prehistory. So I think the point here being that, does this fit in with what we consider from a purely subjective standpoint the distinct historical characteristics of our downtown?
So one thing I think we should add into the discussion for the materials committee is that, authentic brick should be used if possible, and the materials should reflect the quality of design that has kind of earned us our place on the National Historic Register. Obviously, it's a brand new building. It's not, it is historic in that this is a historic period. But, that's a tricky one.
What page of our document are we on?
We are on page 20 of 28 in the packet. Well, no, it's 21 of 54 in the packet, 20 of 28 in the planning staff report.
So I think the important thing to note here under the definition of historic resource in section 10, it's a building area, neighborhood, or structure that number B is applicable here because it's not a historical structure. It's not a historical structure as determined by the map in the CBD bylaw, and it's not included in the inventory of historic and archaeological assets of the Commonwealth, but it is on the land is encompassed in the area that is on the National Register of Historic Places. So it is the board's job to determine that if the benefits outweigh the negatives, if this building's benefits as designed and as constructed in all of its uses benefits its place, its area, the land on the Register of Historic Places than it currently does. More than it currently does.
This is where bylaws over time are like such a weird baton to pass, because it's interesting that they chose this as a PUD, but it was replacing a variant building which existed within that same collection of properties. And so if we leave the laundry building as is, arguably it's working harder against the character of the National Historic Register of Places, without meeting the overlay requirement of bringing significant amount of housing. So it's interesting that they chose the parcel at all, except for the possible contemplation that the building could only economically feasibly be replaced with inclusion of housing units. And so maybe they were looking to enhance the character of the town by replacing it with a better looking, better scaled building. And I think keeping it to 5 stories does our best with that. Having sat in too many meetings about this, there's no way it can be smaller and economically feasible. I think 5 is the break point, and I think within the expectation that this be used to develop the housing inventory, as long as the materials are authentic and design review continues the work of making sure that it respects the architectural reference points, I think it's the mark.
I want to make one final point for myself. On occasion, there's been raised the issue of the historical waterway, which was designed as such with the waterfall and all that. I would contend that short of putting a public park on this site, we will never satisfy that desire to honor that waterway. even one-story building, two-story building, three-story, five-story, it's going to be adjudged to be an insult to that. But whatever we put there is going to be an improvement on the laundry building.
I agree, and it's set back further than the graded area of the laundry building, which includes the parking lot.
Yep.
So it's actually, I'm too tired to come up with the right words.
I think that group of geese will decide how we did there.
Yeah.
If they come back, we did okay.
Yeah, we'll get geese there.
Yeah.
That's a Board of Health issue, though, not a planning board issue, everyone.
They're coming back.
Does someone want to make a motion on 9.4.2.8? Unless, I mean, with all the things that have just been said.
I think our former chair of the Historic Commission should craft that motion.
Oh, nice guy. I move that the planning board finds no negative impact on the historical resources as defined in section 10.
Second.
I would just add one more thing, that it says we shall explain its position in written decision if we disagree with other town. But as we established, there's not really.
They didn't really disagree.
We should still add
ask
that.
the Historic Commission to send a recommendation based on the five-story building, so that we're not in conflict with their recommendation.
We could do that, yeah.
I think that should be a condition that we
Okay.
request that. I mean, that, but I don't think that's condition.
And do we want to say it has no impact? Is that the right
I'm just
word?
wondering,
No, it does not have a negative impact on it.
Okay, no negative impact.
Right.
No negative.
it has a tiny negative impact.
Yeah, I would say no.
What if I just voted no and everyone else voted yes, and then that?
You vote, as always, you vote, as always, you don't tell us, I won't tell you how to vote ever.
We're to a point where we're trading votes and bottles of whiskey, so this should probably be the last point.
Whiskey sounds good right now.
So what was the motion? The motion was, has no.
That we find that does not have a negative impact on the historical resource, conditioned on a.
How about does not have a significant negative? That way we're all in agreement.
Okay.
Who wants it?
Oh, just so moved.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
I'm going to start over this side. Carrie.
Aye.
Jack.
Aye.
John.
Aye.
Nick.
No.
I vote aye. The vote is 4-1 in favor. And with that, we are at 10 o'clock.
I make a motion that we continue this hearing to Friday, the 27th of February at 12 o'clock.
On Zoom.
On Zoom, virtual.
Oh, wait, before we, so we have motion and second. Can you come, there's a motion and second, but you can come over, because while we're discussing the motion, you can come to the table.
I was just going to ask if we could possibly do it a little later than 12. I noticed we have something that will be difficult to get out of until 1:30 or 2 o'clock, if possible, on Friday.
So we had a hard stop for you
We're
at
at 3.
You at,
I can go to 6.
you just couldn't do,
I just can't do 10 a.m., but
why don't,
I mean, I can do earlier, a little earlier.
Can you do
well, no, but it
earlier?
sounds like 1:30 is.
Oh, yeah, but you guys, yeah, you guys
You
can.
can't, okay.
Kind of out of
So 1:30 is good for you?
So
1:30, yes.
1:30,
1:30 or 2:30?
I could, I have something that ends at 1:30. I could end it a little
this is a
earlier.
Zoom, so hopefully you can
Be there for the
be there at Zoom.
Yes.
Why don't we schedule it at 1:30? And if you come on at 1:40 because you're still coming through your thing, we will discuss among ourselves.
Talk
I mean, it's a
about you
public
without
meeting.
you.
We won't record till you're there.
But we will not make any votes until you're there. So
We'll continue, Joe, I move that we continue this hearing to Friday, the 27th at 1:30 PM on Zoom.
okay.
Second.
Roll call vote. Nick.
Aye.
John.
Aye.
Carrie.
Aye.
Jack.
Aye.
Chair votes aye. And now I'd like, unless there's anything else, a motion to adjourn.
I move that we adjourn.
Second.
Doing all the work here, folks.
Aye.
Aye.
That's tonight.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, WinCam.